All right, so Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome, welcome. A lot of amazing stuff we have to present today. Hopefully, Marissa can join us since she's the one who made some of these discoveries, but we're still going to go over them, so no worries. All right, so we'll start with just going over the calendar, and if anybody has any questions about it, we can address the questions. Then we're going to present what Marissa has found. Really amazing stuff. We're going to go over it. All praise to the Most High, Yahuah. So I'll start us off with a prayer, and then I'll go ahead and play the calendar video on YouTube. I'll play it at 1.25 speed, so it's only going to take about an hour. Hopefully by that time, Marissa can join in. She'll be able to help share her findings as well. But let me say a quick prayer, and then we'll get it all started. Father Abba Yahuah, thank you for this Sabbath day of rest. Thank you for all the blessings and everything that you have shown us regarding your truths. Thank you for helping us to get out of Babylon and for being able to share your truth all throughout scriptures. We thank you, Father, and we ask that you give us the strength to endure to the end. I wanted to also pray for those who are struggling through trials and tribulations or sicknesses, no matter what it is. We all need your help, Father. Please help us all to continue to endure. And I pray to you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. All right. So let me start with sharing the screen here. And then I can get the link. So this is going to be the video on my YouTube channel about the calendar. And it's basically the same thing we're going to present to Jackson Schneider. Of course, when I finish inputting all the discoveries we made last night as well. So I do have some of them in there already, but let me continue. So this is going to be the link to what we're about to watch here. Let me share the system audio so you guys can hear it. And then I will go ahead and mute, and then we will start the calendar presentation. All right, shalom and welcome everybody. So today we are going to go over Yahuah's true calendar with the witnesses walking through scriptures, the witnesses in the stars, and even historical evidence as witnesses, all confirming Yahuah's true calendar. So, apologies. So, starting here in Genesis 1:1-5. So, creation, before the counting of days. In the beginning, Elohim created the Shamayim and the earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. So day one begins, or the counting of days. The light starts the counting of days. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be." And the light came to be, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, day 1. So what we're seeing here is the light coming to be is going to start the beginning of the count of our day. So as soon as that sun, the bottom of it, has broken the horizon, that's when our day begins. Just like we see the example in Genesis 1, 3 through 5 there. Although that light in Genesis 1 here is not the sun, as in the sun in the sky, but rather the sun as in Messiah. But anyway, so we're seeing the light, then we have evening, we have the darkness, then we have morning. So it begins here and it ends here. The next day repeats. It begins here, ends here. This is our biblical day as defined by scriptures. So here we see on day 1, there was a formless void of darkness that existed for an unknown amount of time. The light coming to be is what begins the counting of days or time, like flipping a light switch. Without understanding the light of Genesis 1:3, which is not the sun, and the light of Genesis 1:14, which is the sun, there's no chance of understanding the calendar of Yahuah. So taking this into account, we see there is a division of time before time started, or a divider that is seen at the beginning of creation week. So since creation week is the standard to start each year, we must take this void of time into account as well. This is the divider day that separates the years. Yahuah works in divisions. He divides light from darkness, divides the days, divides the weeks, the months, and seasons. Why wouldn't there be a yearly divider as well? This divider day keeps the calendar in sync with the heavenly markers each year, without drifting behind them or ahead, then adding 7 days to the year to catch back up. Yahuah didn't give us the heavenly signs, then tell us to wait until a Wednesday, or let the signs drift forward or backwards each year to catch back up to them. Nor did the Gregorian week as we know it today exist when Yahuah created everything in the beginning. Why would the sons of Zadok align creation week to a Wednesday that didn't even exist at their time? So just a visual of what we're seeing here in Genesis 1, 1 through 2, and Genesis 1, 3 through 5. So 1 through 2 is describing this, time before the light started the counting of days. So we have this basically void of time, then boom, the day starts. Night, morning, biblical day. So Jubilees 2:9, and Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, Sabbaths, months, festivals, years, Sabbaths of years, Jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. So we can see the sun is going to be the sign for all these things. And we can also see there is a sign for when the weekly Sabbath day will begin. So this is Jubilees 2:16 through 17. And he completed all his work on the 6th day, that all that is in the heavens and all the earth and in the seas and in the abysses, in the light and in the darkness and in everything, he gave us, the angels, a great sign, the day of Sabbath, that we should do work 6 days and should rest on the Sabbath from all work. And all the angels of the face of all the angels that cry, holy, to us, these 2 great kinds. He said that we should observe the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. So, Jubilees 2:21. And so he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath, with us, the angels, on the 7th day, to eat and to drink and Baruch him who has created all matters, as he has Baruch and Kodesh unto himself a treasured possession, a people above all peoples, that they should guard the Sabbath together with us, the angels who are in heaven. There is a sign to guard the Sabbath. So here in verse 21 of Jubilees 2, we see he created a sign in which day we should guard the Sabbath. Verse 9 shows us it's the sun. That sign is the sun. The sun is the marker or the straight line to Kufa equinox, which marks day 4 of the week. This is when the spring equinox happens every year, when the sun, moon, and stars were created to track the counting of months. day 1 of month 1 on day 4 of creation week. 3 days later is always the Sabbath day. Why would there be a sign the angel of Yahuah is mentioning in Jubilees if Sabbath was always a never-ending cycle of 7 days? We also cannot have a sun sign happen day 3 before the sun was made on day 4. So there's some who like to claim, oh, these days are marking, this spring intercalated day, for example. Well, that's actually incorrect. We can't have the sun sign before the sun was made on day 4. So when we do it the correct way, we get this on the menorah, the 4th branch, longest, straightest branch, which the sun rising in the morning would make the straight line that we see marking day 4. So this is what we would get at the other end of this, the sun shining straight through, going between the 2 pillars in the doorway and lighting up the Holy of Holies in the center of the tabernacle and the temple. This is always marking day 4, week of creation. Always like the menorah shows us right here, straight line pointing to day 4. 3 branches later is always the 7th day. So the sun's analemma, and from vernal equinox to vernal equinox, also shows us 365 days in between. Job alludes to this divider day as his day of birth in chapter 3. So this is Job chapter 3, verse 6. That night, let darkness seize it. Let it not be included among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of months. Also, we're going to see here in Genesis 5, 23 through 24. So all the days of Enoch, were 365 years. There's no coincidences. There's a specific reason why this is 365. So as we can see, Enoch walked the earth 365 years. The divider day is day 365, although it is not counted in the numbering of days, months, or years, as Job himself alluded to. Also, Jubilees tells us the yearly 364-day count begins at creation and is numbered in 52 weeks of 7 days. So here we have Jubilees chapter 1, verses 27 and 29. And he said to the messenger of the presence, write for Moshe, from the beginning of creation until my mikdash has been built among them forever. Verse 29. And the messenger of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tablets of the divisions of the years from the time of the creation of the law and of the witness and of the Sabbatoth or Sabbaths of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of Jubilees, from the day of creation, when the Shamayim and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation according to the powers of the Shamayim, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the Mikdash of Yahuah shall be made in Jerusalem, on Mount Zion, and all the lights be renewed for healing, and for peace, and for a berakah, for all the chosen of Israel. And so it shall be from that day, the day of creation, into all the days of the earth. Jubilee 6, 30 through 33. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days. So 52 weeks of 7 days. And these shall make the entire year complete. 52 weeks of 7 days. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim. And there is no neglecting this command for a single year or from year to year. Meaning year to year. Not once is adding 7 days to this count mentioned. So there is no mention of adding 7 days to this count. This says from year to year. It doesn't say, well, except every 6th or 7th year, we're going to add 7 days to it. No, 364. So, and you shall command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning. 364. No more, no less. Because we start the counting at 0. So, and these shall constitute a complete year. And they shall not disturb its time from its days and its festivals. For all shall fall out in them according to their witness. And they shall not leave out any day or disturb any festivals. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they shall disturb all their seasons. Adding 7 days. and the years shall be dislodged, adding 7 days from this order, and they shall neglect their laws. So nowhere in Jubilees, nowhere in Enoch do we see that they are adding 7 days to the 364-day count. Nowhere do we see a Gregorian Wednesday. Nowhere do we say a Gregorian Saturday. So we're going to find here Lamentations 2:6. He has demolished his booth like a garden. He has destroyed his place of meeting. Yahuah has made the appointed times and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and despises sovereign and priest in his raging displeasure. So this verse here in Lamentation clearly shows the Sabbath day was lost. How can this be if it was a constant 7-day endless cycle from year to year? Why would there need to be a sign each year that we see in Jubilees to know exactly when the 7th-day Sabbath was, if there wasn't a yearly division of the weekly cycle? So a very interesting find that has been discovered in Qumran scroll 4Q324D is the location of the text, or in the text of the word vacate, which is in column 5, verses 9 and 10. This word sometimes applies to a large amount of missing text from the scroll. So I have it here, right here. So 4Q324D, column 5, verses 9 through 10. Also column 6, verse 1 is included in here. So on the 28th in it, the Sabbath. Here's vacate, indicating a lot of missing text is here. Then after the missing text, it continues on. Weekday 2 in it falls the 30th day of the month. Weekday 3 is additional. So this is that spring intercalated seasonal day, the 31st day of the 12th month. So this is important to notice because only important and special days are recorded in this scroll. Normally, there would be no text that would exist in this location unless it's an important date, and it is. This is the exact location of the yearly divider day, the day it falls on, after the last Sabbath of the year, which is the 28th day of the 12th month. So really quickly, let me screen share for you the 12th month here. Let me get it on screen. Okay, so here's month 12. So we're going to see right here, the 28th of the 12th month, last Sabbath of the year, which falls on the Gregorian date, March 15th. After that Sabbath, we have the divider day, which falls on March 16th. Then we have days 1 to day 3. It's that seasonal intercalated day that I was just showing you that exists in column 6, verse 1. And then boom, our year starts again. So back to our discussion. So what other large amount of text would be missing if it was just a normal day? So another interesting find in 4Q394, which is also known as 4QMNT, we find this. So a Sabbath in it. After the Sabbath, blank is added, and the year is complete in 360 blank days. And the remainder is blank. So this is from Florentino Garcia Martinez, Dead Sea Scrolls. He is very clear where with the brackets and where author's insertions are added. What we're reading here is what we see without the author's inserted brackets from other scrolls and things of that nature. So this fragment shows some of what's missing in 4Q324D, where vacate is located, in column 5, verses 9 and 10. So Garcia Martinez version shows us what's on the original fragments with no added text. When we put the two fragments together, 4Q324D, where vacate is, and 4Q394, this is our interpretation of what we will get. On the 28th in it, a Sabbath. After the Sabbath, a day is added, and the year is complete in 364 days. Weekday 2 and it falls the 30th day of the month. Weekday 3 is additional. So just to show you, here's column 5 of 4Q324D. This is a screenshot taken directly from the PDF. So we see here, verse 7, the 12th month, beginning of the 12th month. And here's verse 9. So on the 28th in it, a Sabbath on, here's vacate, missing text. After this missing text, weekday 2, and it falls, and we come down to column 6, so I can show you. The 30th day of the month. Weekday 3 is additional. So this is 4Q394, a screenshot I took of this specific fragment as well. So again, we see after the Sabbath in it, a Sabbath in it, after the Sabbath, a day is added. Of course, blank is added. And the year is complete in 360 blank days. We know that's a 4. And the remainder is blank, or vacate, that you will find right there in other editions. So this is going to be from Florentino Garcia Martinez edition, a screenshot I took of his book of 4Q394, so I can show you what we were speaking about here. So this bracket here and this bracket here means it's an author's insertion from another scroll that they think may fit there. So when we take this bracket out, we leave this author's insertion out, we see a Sabbath in it after the Sabbath is added, and the year is complete in 364 days. Blank, or vacate, as you will see. So when you're reading Giza Vermes edition and things like that, you're not going to see these brackets here. Why? Because they like to just hide these facts. They don't want you to know that was added in from another scroll, what the author thinks should go there. No. We read the scroll for what it is. So that's kind of what I'm explaining here. Notice the brackets. Sorry. It gets kind of funny around these pictures here on this. So we don't see any moon phases or any Gregorian days in the original text. So 4Q320, to display itself from the east and shine in the center of the sky, at the base of the vault, from evening to morning, on the 4th day of the week, of the sons of Gomul, in the first month of the first year. Then scroll 4Q324D, column 1, the beginning of the first month on day 4, Tekufa. As we can see here in 4Q320, which is also supported by many other scrolls, such as 4Q324D, there's also a section in 4Q-MMT that talks about the significance of the Tekufa on the 4th day. And the sundial on Qumran. The sign in the heavens is when the equinox or Tekufa occurs in the springtime, the straight line method. Many ask about the evening to morning in 4Q320, and how can it be the sun? The international dateline is the boundary between one calendar day and the next. It passes through the Pacific Ocean, roughly following the 180-degree line of longitude and deviating to pass around some territories and island groups. While the mainstream claims this is a solid line that never moves, I believe this line would vary depending on the vernal equinox and the sun's position. The same as Yahuah's Sabbath day does, although not by much. What we will see is as the sun is setting in Israel, it is rising in the western U.S. So over here we are catching the sun lining up, whereas Enoch is describing in Enoch 72:5, the sun setting in the west, going to the north to return to the east. So over Israel's evening, which would be daylight here in the U.S., it is lining up to make that straight line sunbeam as the sun is rising, that lights up the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle and the temple, marking day 4 that morning. There was no need for the priest to track a straight line shadow all day, as they would know that morning by this sign. So here's 4Q324D, column 1, just to show you, beginning of the first month on week day 4, Tekufa. You will see all 4 Tekufas in there. Yes, this one is in brackets, but all 4 of them, this is the only one that's in brackets. The other 3 are shown in there. So we know this is day 4, Tekufa, because all the other ones say day 4, Tekufa, which was actually found written on the scrolls. So there are many verses that will allude to day 4, and the equinox being the sign from Yahuah to begin the counting of months. Exodus 27:13, the east side of the courtyard towards the sunrise. Exodus 38:13, and the east side towards the sunrise. Exodus 40:1-2, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, on the first day of the first month, you are to raise up the dwelling place of the tent of meeting. 2 Chronicles 29:3 and 17. In the first year of his reign, in the first month, he opened the doors of the house of Yahuah and repaired them. Verse 17. And they began to set apart on the first day of the first month. And on, look at here, the 8th day of the month, they came to the porch of Yahuah. And they set apart the house of Yahuah in 8 days. And on the 16th day of the first month, they finished. So a lot of people don't understand the significance of the 8th great day. You know, the 8th day that we see right there in Passover, the 8th day we see in Sukkot. The 8th day begins Passover, actually, while the 8th day ends Sukkot. There's also an 8th day counted as 0 that we see in Genesis 1:1-2. But 1 Samuel 25, and David said to Jonathan, see, tomorrow is the head of the month. I know most translations will say new moon, but we see the word HaChodesh here, which means head of the month. And I ought to sit with the sovereign to eat. But let me go, and I shall hide in the field until the 3rd day at evening. Why until at evening? Because this 3rd day was a Sabbath day and the day of rest. So at evening, that would be over for him. So he can rest in the field till the 3rd day. Once the Sabbath's over, then he's going to return. Only lining up with the Zadok calendar. Exodus 12:1-2, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe and Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this month is the beginning of months for you. It is the first month of the first year for you. And I want everyone also just to, remember and pay special attention. In scriptures, it's always talking about the beginning of months, specific months, not year, which we are going to get into later, which is why I want you to just remember that. So Job 38:4-5, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who appointed its measurements, if you know? Or who stretched the line upon it? James 1:16-17, do not go astray, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change or turning shadow. So no turning shadow on the equinox Tekuvah. So using a stick and marking the end of the shadow throughout the day from sunrise to sunset, the sun's shadow will cast a straight line during that day. The shadow will curve or shift on other days and not be straight. So 4th commandment, keep the Sabbath. 4th day of creation, sun, moon, and stars created. 4th gate, Gadol Dalet, the 4th letter of the alphabet, which means door or passageway. 4th menorah branch, longest, straightest branch. 3 branches later, the 7th branch, Shabbat. The word Tekufah can also be found in our Bibles today. It means the equinoxes and solstices, or the turning of the year and its seasons. The Tekufah equinox is a celestial event designed by Yahuah as a sign for determining time, not a man-made Gregorian week. There are 4 Tekufahs each year, the vernal and autumn equinoxes, and the summer and winter solstices. The spring equinox determines day 4 of creation week, when the monthly cycle restarts for the year. So that's going to be Strong's Concordance, H8622 Tekupah, circuit, cycle, season, revolution. Meaning a revolution, a course, a lapse, season. So this is going to be from the, Jewish Encyclopedia. The 4 Tekufah are, so I'm not going to say the Babylonian names here, the first Tekufah, 1 Tekufah, vernal equinox. The 2nd Tekufah, summer solstice. 3rd Tekufah, autumn equinox. 4th Tekufah, the winter solstice. Now this is sourced directly from the Jewish Encyclopedia's website. They know themselves what the Tekufah are. The equinoxes and solstices. Psalms 19:1-9. The Shamayim are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the firmament is declaring the work of his hand, which is creation work, creation week. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. Day and night are separated, beginning in the morning. There is no speech, and there are words. Their voice is not heard. Luminaries are silent witnesses. Their line has gone out through all the earth, right here, and their words to the end of the world. In them he put up a tent for the sun, and it is like a bridegroom coming out of his room. The spring equinox to Kufa, marking day 4 of creation week. It rejoices like a strong man to run the path, 364 days. Its rising is from one end of the Shamayim, and its circuit to the other end, the solstices and equinoxes, and naught is hidden from his heat. So this is the sun, moon, and stars speaking, but have no voice, showing us the yearly markers and seasonal dividers, tekufas. So again, we're going to see 4Q320, the sun rising in the east in the morning, creating that straight line sunbeam, which is going into the temple, lighting up the Holy of Holies, marking day 4 of creation week, always. The same day the sun, the moon, and the stars were created. So Ezekiel 43, 1 through 5, and he led me to the gate facing east. And see, the esteem of the Elohim of Israel came from the way of the east. And his voice was like the sound of many waters, and the earth shone from his esteem. Again, this is what we're seeing here. And it was like the appearance of the vision which I saw. So we'll just skip down here. And the esteem of Yahuah came into the house by way of the gate facing east. And the Ruach took me up and brought me into the inner courtyard. And see, the esteem of Yahuah filled the house. So Ezekiel is a perfect explanation of the picture above. The Tekufa equinox, lighting up the Holy of Holies in the temple, marking day 4 of creation week, always. So Enoch 74:12, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. Wisdom of Solomon 7:17 through 19. It is he who gave me true knowledge of the forces of nature, what the world is made of, how the elements behave, how the calendar is determined by the movements of the sun, the changing seasons, the constellations, which are the stars, and the cycles of the years. So we see here in Enoch 74, the sun and the stars bring in the years. The moon is not mentioned in this verse at all. This is also supported by Wisdom of Solomon. The sun and the stars determines the calendar. This is more evidence that the author's false insertions of moon phases in the Mishmarot are incorrect in bringing in the years. And the verses all around Enoch 74:12 will all state the moon will be off 10 days every year and only has 354 days in a year, proving the translations that falsely insert moon here in Enoch 74:12 are in error. How can the moon bring in a 364-day year when it only has 354 days? Not to mention the plural, they do not advance or delay, is a big clue as well, as when moon is inserted falsely, it still says they, plural, in that phrase for the singular word, moon. The calendar is determined by the movements of the sun and stars, as we can see all throughout scriptures. They determine the years and when they begin and end. We cannot trust Rome or the synagogue of Hasatan to have kept Yahuwah's true Sabbath day or calendar. In all of our studies, we have found through scripture, the Sabbath day is not always on a Saturday. In fact, you will not find the word Saturday in scriptures at all. The divider day every year is what separates the years and divides the numbering of the days, perfectly matching the markers and the heavenly signs Yahuah has given us to determine these things. Not a Gregorian week. Also, in addition, these verses in Ezekiel and Amos will show the 4 heads of the 4 seasonal months are Sabbath days, just like the weekly Sabbath. No work, no buying, no selling. The days of Noah, ordained in Jubilees chapter 6 as a memorial, therefore showing there is never more than 7 days between Sabbath days, which some seem to make claims to and have a real problem with, even though 0 days not counted. So Ezekiel 46:1, thus says the Adon Yahuah, the gate of the inner courtyard facing east is shut, 6 days of work. But on the Sabbath it is opened, and on the Chahodesh, head of the months, not new moon, H2320 HaChodesh, it is opened. Amos 8:5-6, saying, when does the head of the months, not new moon, H2320 HaChodesh, when does the head of the months pass so that we can sell grain? And the Sabbath, so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small, the shekel large, and to falsify scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. So what we're seeing here, Ezekiel, he's describing this gate facing east that the esteem of Yahuah shines through is open, or it's shut on the 6 days of work. But on the Sabbath and the heads of the months, it is open. Alluding to this day is the exact same type of Sabbath day as the weekly Sabbath, the heads of the months. This is backed up by Amos 8:5-6, where the same thing, they can't sell grain or anything on the head of the month. Why? Because it's a Sabbath day, just like the weekly seventh-day Sabbath. Therefore, we do not have, we do not go more than 7 days without having a Sabbath day. So we can also see there is a weekly, yearly count, which consists of 52 weeks of 7 days, equaling 364 days, which the book of Jubilees tells us this is our yearly count starting at creation. While Enoch describes to us the yearly monthly count of 364 days, 12 months of 30 days, plus the 4 intercalated seasonal days, which also equals 364 days, the cycle of the sun and stars to track the monthly and seasonal count. So what we're seeing here is Jubilees is describing our yearly 364-day count beginning at creation. Enoch is describing the monthly count of the 364 days. So let me share with you some videos that I put together. It's about 15 minutes, but this is going to basically walk through all the witnesses we have just spoken about, and it's going to get into our next section, which isn't too much longer here, but it's going to describe visually what we're about to read here in our next section. So let me actually make sure it's sharing the audio here, and it wasn't. All right. So let me go ahead. I will mute my mic. We will play this video. Like I said, it's about 16 minutes. But this is basically the confirmation of the stars, the witnesses in the stars. Some witnesses we're going to see in history. And we're going to show some visuals about our next topic we're getting into here. And like I said, this shouldn't take too long, so bear with me here. All right, let me get this playing.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, and lower it. All right, so we can see there that was March 20th, guys. So, all right, we can just leave it there, Jeremy. So, I was driving home in the car the other day just to kind of share like how this came to me. And I'm driving, and I wasn't thinking too hard about this, but we all have a level of understanding that the constellations are for the months. And I've looked into the various time periods, such as tropical time and sidereal time and astronomical time. We know astronomical time is falsehood because they use 13 constellations along the ecliptic, which none of them are in an even order. And if anybody has ever looked into how the Mazzaroth are months, it's 30 degrees for all 12 of them, and then that's how you get to 360. So I'm like, all right, but why do they say for the tropical year, which lines up with the equinox, why do they say that the sun is in Aries? Because when you look up at the sky, what you're actually viewing is the luminaries in sidereal time. So in sidereal time, the sun is in Pisces, and that comes in at our divider day, which is really cool. So sidereal time reflects the outer wheel, where we see the divider day before creation week. However, tropical time reflects the inner wheel, where our seasons are and our months are. And so they say, oh, the sun's in Aries at the equinox. Well, how is that so? And our good sister Adrian, she has been, it has been pressed upon her to look towards the west. And so that kind of dawned on me as I was driving in my car, and I'm like, well, she's supposed to look in the west. What's in the west? And so it just came to me there, where I'm like, all right, so we view this sign in the east to begin our years, right? So we're viewing the sun rising at 90 degrees east. We're making our marks all day, and that sun sets at 270 degrees west, and it makes a straight line shadow. And we're like, great, this is hallelujah, it's the first day of our year. And then our witnesses come in. And the first witness that we'll see, which, Jeremy, if you could flip the picture to the very last one I shared with Leo. Sorry to do that to you. Yeah. All right, so right at sunset, this is, I use this app called Sky Tonight, and so we're right at sundown. So I just know when I screenshot this, the sun is in the west. It just went below the horizon, and so I turned to the east. And the first constellation that is rising is Leo, and Leo is, in the story of the Mazarah, the sign of the tribe of Judah, and Judah is first in the east. So is this our month? No, this is not our month, but another witness that the tribe of Judah is entering in first at the beginning of our year here. And so then an hour after sunset, when you can see all of the stars now, that's where that first picture comes in, Jeremy, where we see Aries is in the west, over the horizon, an hour after sunset. And so this is the sign of our month. Our month's sign will be in the west, an hour after sunset. And so the tabernacle in the heavens rotates throughout the night. So eventually at a certain time of night, this will rotate out. So this is always in the west for the month 1. So what's really cool is at this point in time, 1 hour after sunset, if you pan around to the east and now see what is in the east, go to the next picture. 1 hour after sunset. No, it's not that one. Next picture. Yeah, this is what we'll see. So if you guys can see the horizon line there, you can see that Virgo is poking her head up right there. Can you pan to the date on the top? So this is right on March 20th. This is the next sign you're going to see in the east once it's an hour after sunset. Leo is above Virgo at this point. But when you can witness that month sign in the west and you pan over and look in the east, this is what you see is Virgo's head poking up. And now go to the previous picture, Jeremy, and let me see the top with the date. Okay, so this is, now March 31st is the equivalent of the 12th day of the first month. And zoom in on that Spica star for me. So an hour after sunset, we see Spica is still under the horizon on the 12th day of the first month, an hour after sunset. Now, why is the Spica star so important? It's because she's holding a sheaf of barley in her hand, and the Spica star is representative of the barley. All right, so go to the next picture and then the next picture, and let's see zoom in on Spica there. So now we're at April 1st, 1 hour after sunset, and Spica is now over the horizon. So this is the 13th day of the first month, which is 2 weeks after the spring intercalary day, bringing in the spring season. So we see the Spica star over the horizon, ripening the barley. And go to the next picture, and zoom in. Here is April 2nd. Here's our Passover, our day of Passover. The barley is now Aviv by the time of Passover. So I thought this is an incredible witness in the stars, too, that we are in the right season, that we are in the correct month, we're in the correct rotation in the tabernacles, with seeing Judah come in first, and our barley is ripe by the time of Passover. Hallelujah.
On the day Jesus was crucified, that the sun darkened and the moon turned to blood, and science confirmed it. Well, that's next on the trumpet. All that and an earthquake on April 3rd, 33 AD. So that happened April 3rd, 33 AD. And yes, there was an earthquake on that day. The people in the Old Testament and the New Testament said the exact same thing about the blood moon. That's also in the end time prophecy of the book of Revelation. They call that a blood moon. That all happened on the day that he was crucified. That's right there on the 33 AD. The book of Matthew, chapter 27, tells you all about the earthquake. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. So there was an earthquake, a blood moon, an eclipse, and the graves were opened, and they walked into Jerusalem. I was trying to figure out why April the 2nd might be such a big deal, and that was the day that Jesus was arrested. Some people believe that Jesus was crucified in 30 AD. However, there's not an earthquake or an eclipse that coincide with those dates. I go by Ezekiel 33:3, and that scripture says that when I see the sword fall upon the land, I blow the trumpet and warn the people, so I can follow the trumpet for more. And in Jesus' name, have a blessed day.
Brother Sean sent this drawing to us, that this was a drawing that Yah gave him when he drew it up. And when he presented the calendar that he understood to us, I found this picture just so intriguing. And so I'd like to bring your attention to the top of the menorah here. And so we have 7 branches, where the middle one is number 4. And we see this like bright yellow straight line that goes right up to number 4 in the middle. And so this is the understanding that we all are in agreement on, that the straight line shadow makes is the sign for the 4th day of creation week. And so what perplexed me, though, was that if you look in the middle here at these numbers, 6 is really bolded, but it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have these little boxes with the spaces in between the branches. But what was so perplexing to me was that this yellow straight line went between gates 3 and 4. And so oftentimes when people only consider the solar cycle, they are believing that the equinox is day 0 and thus beginning their year the day after. But my question was, how can both of these coincide? How can they coexist together, where the equinox is day 0 or is between the 3rd and the 4th gate, and yet also is the 4th day of creation week? And so I'd just like to read to you guys Enoch 72:5. And the chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. Now, whenever we read this particular verse, we understand that this is a day in and of itself, where the sun is returning through the north and shining in the face of the heaven. And so we can extrapolate that this is day 0, because Enoch goes on to count 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, and he counts 364 days. And it has to be a day 0 because we're told it's 364 days of the year. So 0 doesn't have a numerical value, but it does have a place in the counting of days. And so I'm sure you're thinking at this point, like, but Marissa, that's not the day 0 that we've all been understanding. Well, family, it is day 0 of the solar cycle. And so, Jeremy, if you could you go to the next picture, please? So there are 2 counts. And the very first count I have here is creation week. That gives us the Sabbath day. And so when we recognize day 0 on creation week, which is 316, it moves the equinox into that place of day 4 of the week. And this is the only way that those 2 counts can coincide and be true at the same time. So you'll see in the second section, solar cycle and the seasons. If we don't have the solar cycle in this position, then our seasons will become dislodged. Where if we read Enoch 72 and we think that we should be beginning with the equinox specifically, well, then Enoch 72's seasonal days, the quarter division leaders, will be dislodged. But this is a separate cycle. Enoch was given the cycles of the luminaries. And so he's describing to us the solar cycle. Now, creation week and the Sabbath day, the references that we can make really come from Jubilees, where in Jubilees we're told to count 52 weeks of days. And so there are actually 3 wheels going on here. So we see the first wheel, the most outer wheel. Jeremy, you can pan to the next picture. The most outer wheel is creation week. And so creation week begins with Genesis 1, 1 through 2, when the earth was formless and void and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That is our divider day. And so that lands on 316, and it's after the 52nd Sabbath of the year. So we are counting 52 weeks of days from creation week. And there are multiple scriptures written in Jubilees where it says from the beginning of creation, from the time of creation, giving credence to this creation week and the count of it being important. And so when we recognize that there's 2 different wheels going on, we see that middle wheel is the solar cycle that began on the 4th day when the sun, the moon, and the stars were made. And so that is that straight line day, the 4th day of creation week. What's really interesting, though, is that we also know of the prophetic year spoken of in Daniel is 360 days. And those days are counted between the equinox and the equilux. So that is 321 to 315. That gives us 360 days for our prophetic year. And now I wholeheartedly understand where our brothers and sisters in Messiah choose to reckon their days by the solar cycle. However, I'd like to implore you to consider this. The scripture where in Ezekiel 8, where the priests have their backs to the temple and they're facing the east, bowing to the sun. They're worshiping the sun as a luminary. And these are what our lunar calendar brothers and sisters are also doing, except with the moon. And they worship the moon on the new moon days, and they blow the shofar at the moon, and they're looking at her and honoring her in that way. And so when we recognize, though, that there are multiple cycles that are overlaid here for the calendar. And when we recognize that creation week comes first, we are no longer going to reckon our days by honoring the creation, but rather we'll be honoring the Creator and all that He did.
All right, so let me get back over here. So as you can see, there is a lot of evidence in the stars as well as in history. So actually, let me share this because I wanted to just go over the pictures Marissa was sharing there really quickly because I know it was kind of difficult to see on the video. But this is the first screenshot she shared there with Aries, March 20th in the west, the horizon line, hour after sunset. Then again, March 20th, we see Leo or Judah in the east, at sunrise here. Then again, March 20th, we're going to see Virgo and Spica right here, Spica star right here, still below the horizon line. But here on April 2nd, again, Spica rising just above the horizon on Passover. Then we have, again, March 31st. So I'm going in the order that Marissa was presenting there in the video with what we saw on screen. So March 31st, Spica just below the horizon. Again, we have April 1st here, Spica just above the horizon. And again, April 2nd, Spica in the correct position on the correct day. All praise to the Most High, Yahuah. So let me go ahead and get back to this one. So we only got I'd say about 20 minutes left here. So let me continue here. So we see two different 364-day counts, which gives us the wheel within a wheel and the yearly overlap cycle of the weekly count and the monthly count of 364 days. Each start on a different day of creation week. Our yearly divider day is before day 1 of creation week, as Genesis 1, 1 through 2, and Jubilees 1 and 4Q394 show us. This is our yearly 364-day count. The monthly divider day will happen on the straight line shadow day or the spring equinox or Tekufa. 2 cycles of the year, 2 wheels, 2 divider days, 1 for each cycle to keep them lined up perfectly each year. This is why there are some who claim the day after the equinox is when we should start our count. But we should be following the Creator Yahuah and start our counting of days when He did, on day 1 of creation week. Not following the creation and starting our count midweek. Both counts work together to keep the yearly cycle hitting the heavenly markers every year, year after year, just like Jubilees shows and explains to us. So what I have here is a visual of what we were just speaking about as well. So I'm going to have the Gregorian Babylonian dates here on the top. We're going to have the creation weekly count and the monthly yearly count. So this is going to be 2 witnesses bringing in the yearly cycle. So the divider days are the light blue. Shabbat days are the darker blue. Oops. So what we're going to see in the yearly creation week count, we're going to see the 28th of that 12th month, day 364 of the weekly count, that last Sabbath day of the year. After that Sabbath day, this day is added, day 0, the yearly divider day. And then, so we got 315 last Sabbath, 316 yearly divider, 317 day 1 of 364, also day 1 of the week, 318 day 2, 319 day 3, also the seasonal divider day, then 320 day 4 of the week, Tekufa, equinox, head of months, and then it continues on until we get to our day 7 of the week, which is the Sabbath day, weekly Sabbath day. So this is going to be our monthly cycle, that second wheel within the wheel. This is where we're going to get our prophetic 360-day count that we see in Daniel and Revelation by Yochanan. This is the 360-day count of the year that we're going to see, and it lays it out beautifully, visually, right here. So 28th of the 12th month will be day 360 on the monthly count. The divider day of the year is going to be day 361 of this monthly count. Now remember, Job 6, verse 3 says it's not counted in the years and it's not counted in the months or the days. So then day 362 of this monthly cycle is going to be the 29th of month 12, day 363, 30th of month 12, day 364 on the seasonal divider day, 319, day 0, which is day 1 of month 1, which is the Tekufa, March 20th. Then we have day 1 of 364, the 2nd of month 1, day 2, day 3, the 4th of month 1. This is how everything fits together beautifully by Yahuah himself, using nothing but scriptures, Enoch, Jubilees, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is where we get our 360-day prophetic year that actually Enoch, Daniel, and Yohanan all speak about. The 12 months of 30 days. This is going to be the overlap, or the wheel within the wheel, that we're going to see. So 12 months of 30 days plus the 4 seasonal divider days is a 364-day count, which is what this top bracket's representing. This bottom one is the 52 weeks of 7 days, which is also a 364-day count. The overlap that we're going to see. Consider this basically day 4. So when we put them next to each other, we see they're even, but they have this spacing like a overlap in fabric, or the overlap that you see in a brick wall or a brick house. This provides strength, and nothing will move from its place from year to year. So Enoch 72, 4 through 6, and first there goes forth the great light named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the Shamayim, and he's quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the Shamayim and returns through the north in order to reach the east. And it is so guided that he comes to that portal and shines in the face of the Shamayim, the heavens. So in this way, he rises in the first month, in the great portal, which is the 4th. So in verse 5 of Enoch 72, we can see it shows the sun enters into the portal of heaven, shines in heaven. Then in that same way, he rises in the great portal, the 4th. 2 portals, one in heaven, the monthly cycle divider. Then the other is the great 4th portal, starting the monthly count. Sorry, there should be that's correct. So Enoch 72:32, on that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. So a point Marissa had brought up to me was Enoch was taken up to the heavens and shown these things. So he didn't have atmospheric lensing or distortion, and he wasn't counting the blendings. It was just the straight dark and the straight day. So this is why he is describing the equal lux here, which is equal day and equal night. But we don't see equal day and equal night here on Earth on the straight line shadow day because of this atmospheric lensing and distortion. Enoch didn't have this. So what we're seeing here with the atmospheric lensing and distortion is the equal lux that we do see and experience that happens in Israel today, which happens to fall on March 16th, the same day of the yearly divider. Again, the signs in the heavens shining on earth, marking these specific days. So here in Enoch 72, we can see he's defining the equilux, which happens before the equinox, or the Tekufa. The Tekufa is the heavenly marker for not only day 4 of creation week, but the divider day of the monthly cycle each year, as mentioned before. Enoch is describing the cycle of the sun, moon, and stars each year, and thus showing us that specific wheel of the yearly cycle. This is why many will be confused and will have their divider day on the equinox, following the creation, like the priests who had their backs turned on the temple to look at the rising sun and not our creator Yahuah. Again, 2 wheels, the weekly 364 and the monthly 364, which work together to keep each year lined up perfectly with what Yahuah tells us with his heavenly markers, not a Gregorian week. Enoch describes the yearly cycle of the sun, moon, and stars, while Jubilees describes the yearly count of days starting on day 1, week of creation, when the light came to be. 52 weeks of 7 days exactly. The sons of Zadok clearly saw these two wheels and used them together to determine Yahuah's true Zadok calendar, the two witnesses. So again, we have the two pillars in front of the temple entrance that the sun shines through to light up the Holy of Holies on day 4. So we have Yachin, creation, divider, the time before the counting of days, Genesis 1, 1 through 2, 4Q394. These pillars are going to mark the 3 days of creation before the sun, moon, and stars were created on day 4. So Yachin, two pillars, Yachin meaning he shall establish. So he established the beginning before the counting of days, marking day 0. Then Boaz, in its strength. What's in its strength? The straight line, esteem, sunbeam of Yahuah lighting up the Holy of Holies in the center of the tabernacle and the temple, the straight line method. Tekufa, equinox, straight line, Exodus 40, 1 through 2, Ezekiel 43, Jubilees 221, 4Q324D, 4Q320. The Zadok priestly calendar consists of a 364-day year divided into 7-day weeks in 12 months of 30 days each, except for the one extra day in the last month of each quarter 4 times a year, the 4 seasonal intercalated days. The calendar accommodates the 365.24 days of the solar cycle. The 4 seasons are spring, summer, fall, and winter. When the 364-day count has been accomplished, as instructed by Enoch, Jubilees, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, you will arrive with an extra day for the physical year every year, and another day on the 4th year. This cycle repeats continually. The divider days are not counted as part of the 7-day week or numbered. They are simply lived. This is why we live in a 365.24-day world, but count 364 days to do as Enoch has commanded for the calendar. That's why it's reiterated so many times, 364 only. Why? Because we actually experience a 365-day year. We start this 364 count at 0. The calendar accounts for the full year of 365.24 days with the divider day. The first day of creation week starts the count of 364 days at the heavenly portal after the last Sabbath of the year, thus keeping the calendar on season every year, and the weeks and the months perfectly overlapping each other each year and hitting the heavenly markers in the stars each year. Day 1 of month 1 will always be the 4th day of the 7th day creation week, the spring equinox Tekufa. This is not the Wednesday of the Roman or the Jewish calendar. This true sequence of the 4th day recognizes the creation of the sun as read in Genesis. The 4th day of creation, the luminaries, and is marked by its sign, the straight line method. The Zadok day starts at sunrise, recognizing the creation of the light, not the beginning of darkness. It is not possible for the Saturday of today to be the 7th day Sabbath continually, week by week and year by year, because Yahuah's counting starts from day 1, week of creation. The Tekufa will always mark day 4. This is important to note. The weekly 7th day is the day that was made holy, not Saturday, marked on the Roman or Jewish calendars. Real quickly, I'd like to add in here, if you are on a desert island in the middle of nowhere, I know a lot of people like to use this, but the Tekufa straight line shadow, marking a stick, marking the end of that shadow with rocks, you will get a straight line that day. I would also like to add, how are you going to know it's a Gregorian Wednesday if you're out on an island? You're not going to know that. You will know the creation day, day 4, by this sign. So the 7th day Sabbath is on a fixed day of the week on the Zadok 364-day counted calendar. It is exactly 52 weeks of 7 days, not 52 weeks and 2 days, as with the Julian or Gregorian calendar, and never 53 weeks of 7 days. We do not see that in scriptures. One needs to remember that on March 20th every year is the spring Tekufa equinox. Aaron Ryan and Alan Pisarak have both been tracking the Tekufa nearly a decade. It is always on March 20th, according to these two witnesses. And I'm going to add in our own group, we have also found it fell on March 20th here, with all of us tracking it. So that day is the 4th day of a new yearly 7-day week. This day celebrates the creation's 4th day on which Yahuah Elohim made the luminaries. The extra day after the last Sabbath is not counted after the 364 is complete for the full year. So this is our standard. Creation week is the standard to start each year, starting at 0. So the priestly cycles and where they come from. Yes, we see them in Chronicles, but it is rabbinical writings that pair up moon cycles to the priestly cycles, and many attempt to apply the same method to the priestly cycles found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This will not work. As quoted from the rabbinical writings, the Mishnah and Tosefta, containing hereby in connection with the connotation of the Mishmarot and the Mamadot, the Mishmarot, the priestly cycles, with the text better than that of the Mishnah. The establishment of the 24 priestly courses in the order of their service, as described in 1 Chronicles 24, was meant to be a permanent arrangement. When this order was established and at what time the list was made is not known. In any event, it was a late development, at least 1 or 2 generations after the time of High Priest Joachim, to which the list of priestly clans in Nehemiah 12 is attributed. Various scholars date this list at the beginning of the Hasmonean usurpers period, since Jehorebib, representative of the Hasmonean clan, who observed the Babylonian calendar, observing moons, heads the list, 1 Chronicles 24, whereas in Nehemiah, his name is 16th on the list. The moon phases in the Dead Sea Scrolls are authors' insertions. When we look at a comparison of the complete Dead Sea Scrolls and other translations, we will see many of the moon phases found in the complete Dead Sea Scrolls are authors' insertions and do not exist in the original text. So from Giza Vermes, the complete Dead Sea Scrolls, Mishmarot A 4Q320 is what we're going to find in his translation. To show it from the east, and to cause it to shine in the middle of heaven, in the foundation of the creation, from evening until morning. Then his insertion, there is a full moon, on the 4th day in the week of the sons of Gamul, in the 1st month of the 1st year. So as you can see, the parentheses are author's insertions by Giza Vermes, just as we also see in many Bible translations, meaning they are insertions from the author's interpretation of what a particular verse can mean. If we use Florentino Garcia Martinez, the Dead Sea Scroll translated, we will see, to display itself from the east, shine in the center of the sky, at the base of the vault, from evening to morning, on the 4th day of the week of the sons of Gamul, in the 1st month of the year. So we also see a little bit of a translation difference as well. This is evidence of the author's false insertions of moon phases in the Mishmarot, and how they are incorrect in bringing in the years. How can the moon bring in a 364 days when it only has 354? The calendar, again, is determined by the movements of the sun and stars, no moon, as we see with Enoch 74:12 and Wisdom of Solomon 7:17 through 19. So the word dukkha, beyond the problem of intercalation, another basic area of ignorance hindering complete understanding of the calendars, involves the meaning of the recurrent Hebrew term dukkha. I would also add in here, having the Gregorian week as your foundation is going to pose a problem as well, as we've seen. So this word describing one of the phases of the moon, an author, this is Michael Wise's opinion, occurs frequently in the synchronistic calendar, which is text 72 or 4Q321. The system of the lunar observation associated with the term, which is again an author's opinion, clearly underlies the other text as well, even though they don't mention dukkha. So wait, what did they say here? Look, dukkha doesn't even exist anywhere else but 321. But they say, oh, well, it clearly underlies the other text as well. So what they're saying is they're inserting dukkha into places where it's not even found or shown to be at. So before the discovery of the scrolls, scholars had never encountered this word. So reasoning from etymology, meaning what's the meaning? Dukkha most likely means carefully examined. It has nothing to do with Yarok. You can see it only means carefully examined, nothing to do with the moon. But what is being carefully examined? Scholars are still debating the options for dukkha, and a reasonable case can be made for either approach. The authors of this book do not themselves agree on what it means, but they've decided to translate according to the full moon option, Hence, we will take dukkha to refer to the observation of the first crescent, a sliver. So this is Michael Weiss from his Dead Sea Scrolls, a new translation from his own commentary. As you can see, the authors took it upon themselves to declare the meaning as different phases of the moon, and scholars do not agree or even know the meaning. Dukkha does not even exist in 4Q320, only in 4Q321. And we believe it's not a certain phase or sliver of the moon, but rather which gate it is rising and setting opposite the sun as a witness, not a determining factor. The sun gives us the oath, the sign for days, weeks, months, years, Sabbaths, and Jubilees, as we saw written in Jubilees 2:9. We can also see there is a sign for when the weekly Sabbath day will begin in Jubilees 2:21. The calendar determines the priestly cycle, not the other way around. The calendar was first, and then the priestly cycle came. There are other years that will match up to the same cycle Gina and Robert and others present as well. For example, 3/19/1924, the moon was at 98% full. 1935, the moon was at 100. 1962, again, the moon at 100%. Gina, Robert, and others state this cycle repeats itself every 294 years. This was found to be incorrect after careful examination. The moon's cycles have a pattern of 5-6, 5-6, 5-6, 5-5-6. You see, there is a reset cycle that makes it not land in the same order perpetually. To say that every year 1 and year 4 are the same, every year 2 and year 5 are the same, or every year 3 and year 6 are the same is not being truthful. The reason is the solar cycle is 365.24, not 364. The moon doesn't fall behind 10 days every year, rather it's 11.24. We research the moon from every angle to see if it shows us when to intercalate or if it's for sabbatical and jubilee years. Using the menorah on a Gregorian week is not right, as this method does not use the luminaries as the foundation at all, but rather a man-made week. How would the sons of Zadok have known to intercalate to a Wednesday when the Gregorian calendar didn't exist at that time? An intercalation is something we should be observing from Yahuah, that is the oath or the sign, not a man-made week. If you intercalate a week every 6 years, your years will begin drifting backwards from the Tekufa equinox, and in 100 years your calendar will begin in the winter. Many have chosen this method, in my opinion, because it is the only way that makes the most sense, excuse me, based off the priestly cycles, if you're using a Gregorian week as your foundation. So we have tracked the priestly cycles for the claimed 294 years, and they do not miss a beat, meaning there is no evidence in the moon of a week intercalation. And to suggest all the priests served in this extra week is speculation at best, because it's not found in the scrolls. The pattern is always 5-6, 5-6, 5-6, 5-5-6. There is no room or evidence of a fifth-year intercalation in their method, which would be needed to keep everything in sync. As far as the stars are concerned, what exactly is noticed in the stars' alignment that indicated whether or not to intercalate? So we've already shown there is no sign to intercalate in the stars, and the witness in the stars actually adhere to this method that we have found through scriptures, using Yahuah's markers and signs, not a Gregorian week. We used the star app, which was not Stellarium, to try and understand this without just taking someone's word for it, and it appears many use the astronomical time to determine the year. In combination with Gregorian weekdays, both are man-made. After numerous hours spent recording the lunar cycles, we have found that they cannot be replicated indefinitely to determine the years. Many people believe that the lunar cycle, or the full moon phase, and the solar cycle, equinox day, will sync up with the Gregorian weekday Wednesday to replicate creation week every 294 years. However, the moon is not reliable in this scenario. So 3/20/2019, it was 100%. 3/20/17/26, the moon was 92. 3/20/14/33, 77. Not to mention this 294 years is found nowhere in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I would also like to add here, there are some who like to claim, oh, using apps and things to track the stars is using man-made devices. Well, then how are you getting a 294-year cycle? And if you're going to say, oh, well, men tracked it, well, then, yeah, you're using men as well. So therefore, this is the most accurate way things can be tracked. And it happens to line up properly with what we found. It's not going to line up, and you have to make those excuses saying, oh, well, they're man-made apps and not accurate. It's because you're lining everything up with the Gregorian week that is not accurate. Almost finished here. So Jubilee 6, 36 through 37. For there will be those who assuredly make observations of the moon, and how it disturbs the seasons, comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order, and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy, which is Yahuah's true Zadok calendar, with the unclean, which would be the Gregorian calendar and Gregorian week. And the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to months, Sabbaths, festivals, and jubilees. If you're adding a week, this is pertaining to you. So if the sons of Zadok had jubilees as their foundation, and it warns us about making observations of the moon, why do some insist that they were observing moon phases? Sorry. The true Sabbath is anchored to Yahuah's great sign that we can physically observe shining here on earth as it is in heaven, the Tekufa. So we're still determining exactly how the moon is used and how it is a witness, but we have been finding it is more for agricultural planting seasons and tracking longer periods of time. We also believe it is not a certain phase or sliver of the moon that we cite, but rather which gate it is rising and setting with the sun as a witness, not a determining factor. We're also seeing it as a witness for the 3-year tithe as well. We do not know for sure, we do know for sure it is not used for months or to calculate a year or used to determine Sabbaths or festivals. As we have seen, using the moon phases to determine the priestly cycles stems from rabbinic texts. And when attempting to line up these phases, they do not line up as they are made to appear. Made to appear as they do the author's insertions. We do not have all the answers, but we are searching diligently, continuously. Shalom. Thank you all for watching. All right, so that was the video of my presentation there. And there are a few things we are going to be fixing as to what Marissa had found. So really quick, actually, I should have pulled this up earlier, but so I'm pretty excited to share what Marissa had found. And I know she's checking out the campsite for our Sukkot gathering this year right now, which, if she's listening, maybe she'd be willing to take a quick video. Oh no, she was invited, but she's not here. Or is... No, Miranda's not here either. Oh. Well, if they were here, I was going to ask if they could share a quick video of the campsite right now, but no worries. Anyways, let me find Jubilees here. So, in pertaining, let me get the,
call her and get her in?
yeah, if you can do that real quick. While she does that, let me get to what we found, particularly pertaining to 4Q320. So, one moment here. So, it's really fascinating because we were having a conversation last night And we were going over how, 320, it can't be the moon because they wouldn't be sighting certain phases of the moon. And like we had mentioned earlier before, the moon is not always out at night. It's out during the day sometimes as well. Actually, a lot of the time, it's out during the day. So what are they citing there in 320? And that's why we were figuring it had to be the sun, because we had all those other scriptures to back that up. Excuse me, to back that up and reinforce it. But what Marissa had found, because we were kind of talking last night, and she had mentioned, what if that's actually about the stars? What it's talking about there, because they're always out at night, and we have those 4 leaders of the stars. So she was starting to read through Jubilees. So this is actually the first thing that she had sent me, and it's Jubilees chapter 12, and it's going to be verse 16 and 17 we see here. So excuse me, in the 6th week of the 5th year, Abraham sat up throughout the night on the not new moon. This is Ha-Hodesh again, so this is one of those mistranslations. It's Ha-Hodesh.
All right, they're coming.
Awesome. So on the head of the 7th month, to do what? Observe the stars from evening to morning. Exactly what it says in 320. In order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone, and he sat and observed. Boom, right there. The exact statement and phrase that we see in 320. And what do we see? To observe the stars from evening to morning. So that's a huge find right there. So this is one of the things I'm correcting on the article, and in our understanding of what 320 is speaking about.
This is huge because, we're up against, of course, Gina and Robert Villa speaking about this particular section of the scrolls being using the author's insertions of the moon. And that's not the case here.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, this came to Marissa last night, right after that discussion. But continuing on in verse 17, and a word came into his heart and said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of Yahuah. Why do I search them out? If he desires, he causes it to rain morning and evening. And if he desires, he withholds it. And all matters are in his hands, Yahuwah's hands. So boom, this is huge confirmation. Literally like that, that same evening, last night. So this is also going to pertain, here, I'm trying to pull up the verses so I can find them for you guys, show them on screen. So Jubilees, what is it, 4? And then starting in verse 17, I believe. Yes. All right, so this is pertaining to Enoch, Hanok. So Jubilees, chapter 4, starting in 17 here. So, and he was the first among men that were born on earth, Enoch, who learned writing and knowledge and wisdom, and wrote down the signs of the heavens, the Shamayim, according to the order of their months, in a book, that men excuse me, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. So this is going to be confirming the 364-day yearly weekly count that we are seeing, which Jubilees also right here is confirming Enoch, who's describing the 364-day monthly count of the year. So there's two 364-day counts that we see. The one that we use, as mentioned here in Jubilees, and other verses all over actually Jubilees, is going to show we begin our yearly count at creation, which is day 1, week of creation. But let me continue on here. So verse 18, and he was the first to write a witness, and he witnessed to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of Jubilees, a 7-day count of Jubilees. So this would be 7 Jubilees. And made known to them the days of the years, showing our yearly count starts at day 1, week of creation. And he put in the order of the months. See, years, months. The 2 separate cycles that we're seeing, the wheel within the wheel. And recounted the Sabbaths of the years as we made known to him. Boom, right there. And what was and what shall be, he saw in a vision of his sleep. And it shall happen to the children of men throughout their generations, until the day of judgment. He saw and understood all, and wrote his witness, and placed the witness on earth for all the children of men, and for their generations. Whose witnesses? The sun and the stars. The moon as well, because the moon is a witness, not a determining factor. But this is really, really amazing. And I'm sure once Marissa comes, she can go into further details of her findings. But I know she's checking out the campsite, so I know they're busy at the moment. So where are we? Oh, sorry. Jubilee 6:31. So Jubilees chapter 6, verse 31. Let's see. We'll start here in verse 30, which, we've already kind of gone over this a little bit, but all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, and these shall make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim. And look, there is no neglecting this command for a single year or from year to year. So 52 weeks of 7 days, which should not be commanded for a single year or from year to year. And it doesn't say except every 6 or 7 years where we're going to add 53 weeks of days. No, we don't see that. Sorry. So, 32. And you shall command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these shall constitute a complete year. Why is 364 mentioned so many times and emphasized upon? Because we physically experience 365. And that they shall not disturb its time from its days and from its festivals. For all shall fall out in them according to their witnesses. What witnesses? The ones in the heavens that Yahuah gave us. And they shall not leave out any day or disturb any festivals. Leave out any day, like the 0 day that everybody leaves out. They like to forget about. Everyone has a problem with the single 0 day, null and void day that we have shown is in scriptures. We start the counting at null, void, 0. Everyone has a problem with that, but no one has a problem adding 53 weeks of 7 days, where we do not see any of that, and it cannot be alluded or found in scriptures. So that's a huge problem. So, but if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, Yahuah's command, meaning his signs in the heavens, then they shall disturb all their seasons, and the years shall be dislodged from this order, and they shall neglect their laws. And the children of Israel shall forget. Would they forget to start at 0, and shall not find the path of the years, and shall forget the heads of the months, another new moon's mistranslation, the seasons, the Sabbaths, and they shall go astray as to all the orders of the years. So that's huge. This is saying if we do not observe this according to this command right here, all this is going to happen. We're going to go astray as to the order of the years, the Sabbaths, the seasons, the heads of the months. A Gregorian calendar, a Gregorian week did not exist when the Book of Jubilees was written. It did not exist at the time of the sons of Zadok in Qumran. You cannot track a Gregorian Wednesday according to the signs in the heavens. You can track day 4 of Creation Week according to the signs in the heavens. So we'll go to Jubilees 12 here. Let me double check if Marissa is in. Are you here, sister?
Hi, shalom.
Shalom. Are you able to give some of your input here?
What are you talking about?
You're
What you found
fine.
right there in Jubilees.
Yeah, but like, what are you talking about? Like the things that we found last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, what did you just leave off with? What were you just talking about before I logged in?
So basically, I was just going over what you had shown in Jubilees. What was it? Hold on one second. I got to get it back up here to see. So it's Jubilees 12:17 about Abraham. He stayed up all night to observe the stars from evening to morning.
Yeah, that was. Did you read that scripture to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was super incredible. Because we were looking at 4Q320 where it says, and it will shine from evening to morning from the east. And so the thought last night was, well, could that be talking about the stars? And then so I went into Jubilees, and I was not even looking for that in particular, but I was looking for like according to the sign of the year, which is something that's written in Enoch. It's actually inserted into Enoch about the moon, where it says according to the sign of the year, and that was not what I stumbled on. What I stumbled on was Jubilees 12, where it's talking about Abraham staying up all night at the head of the 7th month to observe the stars from evening to morning. And so that was super incredible. And then when I did end up going into the Dead Sea Scrolls later, Dead Sea Scrolls has Enoch 78, where I was looking for that line according to the sign of the year, and guess what's missing? according to the sign of the year is missing. So that was inserted, and the moon has nothing to do with according to the sign of the year.
Yeah, huge finding. Yeah, I hadn't mentioned that part yet. Yeah, thank you.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Praise Yahuah.
Hallelujah.
So yeah, and then we were just going over some of the other verses you had found in Jubilees as well. And we're about to get into 12:17 here. And yeah, all praise to the Most High. So let's see. So actually, Jubilees 12 starting in 16. So in the 6th week, or sorry, we just read this actually. So word came to his heart and said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and the sun are in the hand of Yahuah. So we'll just, apologies, I just read that one. So we'll go to 25. And I'm just going off of what Marissa had sent here. So starting in 14. 25:14. Actually, it's 15. So, Baruch are you, Adon of righteousness, and Elohim of the ages. May he Baruch you beyond all generations of men. May he give you, my son, the path of righteousness, and reveal righteousness to your seed. May he make your sons many during your life. May they arise according to the number of the months of the year. So another clear distinction between months and years, because there's the separate count. So, and may their sons become many and great beyond the stars of the Shamayim, and their numbers to be more than the sands of the sea. Boom. So another clear distinction between the counting of the months, the counting of the year. Again, and another allusion to the stars, the sun and the stars, bringing in all of these things. So Jubilees 50, last chapter. And looks like starting right here. So after this law, I made known to you the days of the Sabbath in the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. So he made known the days of the Sabbath in the wilderness. He didn't say, I gave you this Gregorian Wednesday in the wilderness. Go ahead and try and find it. No. And I told you of the Sabbath of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told you of the Jubilee years in the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof I have not told you until you enter the land which you are to possess. Boom. And the land also shall keep its Sabbath while they dwell upon it, and they shall know the Jubilee year. Therefore I have ordained for you the yearly Sabbaths and the years and the Jubilees. Oh, look at that. The yearly Sabbaths. Why would he have to say there's a distinction between the yearly Sabbath days? The divider day, the null day, void day, day out of time, day zero. Once again, proven here. Jubilees 50, verse 4. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years. And there are still 40 years to come for learning the commands of Yahuah until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing to the Jordan to the west. And the Jubilees shall pass by until Israel is cleansed from all guilt of whoring, uncleanness, defilement, and sin, and straying, and dwell with confidence in all the land. And there shall no longer be an adversary or any evil one. And the land shall be clean from that time forever. So reference to New Jerusalem coming. So, and see the commands regarding the Sabbaths I have written down for you, and all the right ruling in its laws. In 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of your Elohim. So again, what we have seen, there's a yearly Sabbath cycle of 6 days of work, rest on the 7th. The cycle is never broken, but it does reset at the beginning of each year with the divider day, according to the signs in the heavens that Yahuah has shown us. And so I wanted to go more into the verses that have been found in Job as well. So, where are they? Let me get Job up here. But this is going to prove more that it is the sun and the stars that are bringing in our years. And again, no moon is mentioned. Why? Because the moon doesn't bring in the years. It's just a witness, not a determining factor. So let me find Job here. Here we go. So chapter 9. So Job 9, verse 7. And this is actually going to be 7 through 10. So who commands the sun, and it does not rise? And he seals up the stars, stretching out the heavens by himself, the Shamayim, and treading upon the waves of the sea. So these are going to be speaking about specific constellations that we're seeing in the sky. I actually have it corrected. Where is it? Did I put it in here? Yes. So actually, this is my article here we see on screen, which these are the corrections I've made in it so far. And as we can see, this is going to be after we mention Enoch 74:12 and Wisdom of Solomon, also confirming it's the sun and stars. So I'll just go ahead and read what we got from Job from here, because I already have it. So Job 9, 7 through 10. Who commands the sun, and it does not rise? And he seals up the stars, stretching out the Shamayim by himself, treading upon the waves of the sea. So who made Ash, which is Arcturus, that we know in modern terminology, Cassiel, which is Orion, and Kima, which is Pleiades, and the rooms of the south? Who performs great and unsearchable deeds, and look, wonders without number. Without number, like the divider day every year as well. So we're also going to see, which also is confirming the sun and the stars, because once again, there's no moon mentioned anywhere in here. It's the sun and the stars. So Job 38, this is going to be 31 through 33. So do you bind the bands of Kima, again Pleiades, or loosen the cords of Cassiel, Orion, loosen the belt of Orion, Do you bring out the constellations in its seasons? Look at that, the stars. Do you bring the stars out in their season? Or do you lead the bear, which is known as Ursa Major, with its sons? Do you know the laws of the heavens, the Shamayim? Or do you apply their rule over the earth? Question. So are we applying the sun and the star signs to their proper rule? What Yahuah is showing us. The calendar is determined by the movements of the sun and stars, as we can see all throughout scriptures. As we can see throughout scriptures, and we have also proven that 320 most definitely is about. It's these stars. And again, we show Dukkha that is only found in 321, 4Q321. It's not found in any of the other ones. The authors assume it is, which is just an author's assumption. Marissa, I know you're busy. If she's here, which she is not. Yeah, no, just more confirmation. There is some things, I need to look into Dukkha more right there in scriptures.
Would it be okay for me to just speak quickly?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. Have you ever read that massive report that they used to have in the assemblies? The same assembly that I was with Katrina in. They've got like a 12-page report on the Dukkha. Did you ever read it?
No, I haven't read it. No.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely.
What is it on?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's a report about the Dukkha. It's all the information that they gathered, and where it was shown on the priestly courses and stuff like that. I'll send it to you and see if you can work out what it means, because it's very complicated.
Who was that? Who was that from?
I can't remember who it was that wrote it. It's on the paper, but it was David Freeman that gave me it.
Yeah, send it.
Yeah, send it.
Okay, I shall. The more people that get it, the better, because it's information that needs to be, worked out. Eventually, somebody's going to come up with an answer to this. Whether it was false and it was added, or whether it actually does align to the priestly courses. I personally am of the opinion that it is a marker specifically for the priestly courses, and that alone. And I think it was just documented to keep the priestly courses in line year after year. I think that's all it is.
Yeah. So that's why I was mentioning. So we're only finding that specific word, Dukkha. It's only in 4Q321. And they assume it should be in the other scrolls because they're...
It depends, doesn't it? It depends what 423, what was it, 4321, was it?
Yeah, that's where Dukkha is.
Yeah, it depends what the rest of that scroll's about and how that scroll aligns with the others. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure of what's in it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, because we clearly see they write about the sun. We see they write about the stars. So maybe 321 is about just that particular witness of the moon. And it correlates with the other scrolls as well, because we know there's a zodiac scroll or a Mazzaroth scroll as well. It's very fragmented out, And I know Marissa was doing some work with that. I'm not sure what she had found with it, but it's so fragmented out, it's really hard to really get anything out of it. But that's more of it's a scroll not many talk about, is the Zodiac scroll, because everyone's too focused on the priestly cycles and thinking that they're going to determine a year, when no, it's what they were witnessing in the moon that year. And
So
even saying that's really speculation, because we don't have exactly why they wrote all that stuff down. So yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
sister. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I thought you'd finished. I'm sorry. From my understanding, the priestly courses are a cycle of their very own anyway. It's wheels within wheels within wheels, bro.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
so like, just like the angels are described as being wheels in wheels, that's what the calendar's like.
Yeah, precisely.
And that the priestly courses, I think the priestly courses is like something like a 6-year cycle that has no correlation to the calendar. It doesn't even start at the beginning of the year. Like Gam,
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's which one's at the beginning? Gam, is it?
Yeah, it's Gamul.
Excuse me, Gamul. That's it. Yeah, I think he's like the 22nd or something on the priestly course. Like it's at the beginning of the priestly course, but it doesn't line up with anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is we only have 6 years that are recorded that we know of. There could be more. That could explain a whole lot more why they did it, and what specifically they were recording. But as we have shown, we can see that 320 is most definitely talking about the stars, as that was backed up by Abraham himself observing the stars from evening to morning, which is exactly the word phrasing in 320. It's really amazing.
Do you know what part? Sorry.
What's that again?
Do we know what part the stars play in the calendar, though?
Yeah, actually, that's what Marissa is figuring out. And speaking about that, I meant to share those videos here on YouTube, but since you mentioned it, I can actually go ahead and play a couple of the witnesses that we have here. Basically, it's Marissa's presentation. Where's the playlist here? Let me find it.
Can I just pipe in or jump in here as we're talking about the priestly weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, brother.
I have a little theory about this. I can't prove it by scripture, but there's 24 priestly weeks, and if you look at the year, the first season, the season of heat, which is spring and summer, if you exclude the weeks that have the Tekufa, you've got 24 weeks. Now that's nothing sort of special, but I think 24 weeks could be quite interesting, because if you were to carry those 24 weeks into the season of cold, being autumn and winter, what would happen is that if you were, let's say, priestly course week 1 for the spring and priestly course week 1 for the autumn, for example, the time of your duty, the hours of day and the hours of night would equal out. So you'll end up with equal day and equal night for that particular duty, and it would happen the same for every duty throughout that year, no matter where you were on the first 24 week. It would have a mirror reflection for the next 24 week, which would be the autumn and winter. And your yearly duty would be equal day, equal night, if that makes any sense. Do you get me with that?
Yeah. And that's what Marissa is kind of discovering as well. And yeah, that equal day and equal night is actually very important. And that's what's going to, here on Earth, it's going to signal the divider day. Whereas in heaven, it's going to signal, that last intercalated day of the 12th month before the Tekufa, which in heaven actually would be the day zero on the monthly cycle count. So yeah, I believe exactly what you're saying there, brother. It's just a reflection of the other half of the year, and that's what comes around and makes the complete year.
Yeah, because I think it's really important that the parts are described in so much detail, aren't they, for each month? At the end of in Enoch, at the end of month 3, for example, there'll be so many parts day and so many parts night. What am I trying to say? Whereas the further into the year, the opposite of that would have the opposite of parts, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
So if your priestly duty, for example, was in let's say the first week of spring, and then you were in the first week of autumn, because the parts are equal, your duty will be in total will be the equal amount of daylight and the equal amount of night time that you'll be on duty for, meaning equal day, equal night, and that would go the same for every duty throughout the year.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll have to talk that through with Marissa when we get a chance. Because I think, yeah, you might have something there, brother. Proof we all need each other. So the video I just shared is actually the videos we saw in the video of the calendar. But I was going to play them here really quickly for us, just so you guys can get a better look at it. But the first video is going to be the first video we saw there. But this is the witnesses that Marissa had found in the stars. This is her presentation, probably from a couple of discussions ago, I believe. But I basically recorded a little short here. It's only about 6 minutes long, 7 minutes. But it's going to be that same video we saw on that calendar video, but here it should be more clear so everyone can see it. Again, I shared the link in chat. The original video itself, where you can probably see it the best, is going to be on my TikTok, which you can see is just my name there. So if you have TikTok and you want to see this video originally, it's going to be there. That's probably the best quality. But here it's pretty decent quality as well. But here, let me stop rambling and then I'll just play the video.
That's good. Maybe zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, and lower it. All right, so we can see there that was March 20th, guys. So, all right, we could just leave it there, Jeremy. So, I was driving home in the car the other day just to kind of share like how this came to me. And I'm driving, and I wasn't thinking too hard about this, but we all have a level of understanding that the constellations are for the months, and I've looked into the various time periods, such as tropical time and sidereal time and astronomical time. We know astronomical time is falsehood because they use 13 constellations along the ecliptic, which none of them are in an even order. And if anybody has ever looked into how the Mazzaroth are months, you know it's 30 degrees for all 12 of them, and then that's how you get to 360. So I'm like, all right, but why do they say for the tropical year, which lines up with the equinox, why do they say that the sun is in Aries? Because when you look up at the sky, what you're actually viewing is the luminaries in sidereal time. So in sidereal time, the sun is in Pisces, and that comes in at our divider day, which is really cool. So sidereal time reflects the outer wheel, where we see the divider day before creation week. However, tropical time reflects the inner wheel, where our seasons are and our months are. And so they say, oh, the sun's in Aries at the equinox. Well, how is that so? And our good sister Adrian, she has been, it has been pressed upon her to look towards the west. And so that kind of like dawned on me as I was driving in my car, and I'm like, well, she says look in the west. What's in the west? And so it just came to me there where I'm like, all right, so we view this sign in the east to begin our years, right? So we're viewing the sun rising at 90 degrees east. We're making our marks all day, and that sun sets at 270 degrees west, and it makes the straight line shadow. And we're like, great, this is hallelujah, it's the first day of our year. And then our witnesses come in. And the first witness that we'll see, which, Jeremy, if you could flip the picture to the very last one I shared with Leo. Sorry to do that to you. Yeah. All right, so right at sunset, this is, I use this app called Sky Tonight. And so we're right at sundown. So I just know when I screenshot this, the sun is in the west. It just went below the horizon. And so I turned to the east. And the first constellation that is rising is Leo. And Leo is, in the story of the Mazzaroth, the sign of the tribe of Judah. And Judah is first in the east. So is this our month? No, this is not our month, but another witness that the tribe of Judah is entering in first at the beginning of our year here. And so then an hour after sunset, when you can see all of the stars now, that's where that first picture comes in, Jeremy, where we see Aries is in the west, over the horizon an hour after sunset. And so this is the sign of our month. Our month's sign will be in the west an hour after sunset. And so the tabernacle in the heavens rotates throughout the night. So eventually at a certain time of night, this will rotate out. So this is always in the west for the month 1. So what's really cool is at this point in time, 1 hour after sunset, if you pan around to the east and now see what is in the east, go to the next picture. 1 hour after sunset, no, it's not that one. Next picture. Yeah, this is what we'll see. So if you guys can see the horizon line there, you can see that Virgo is poking her head up right there. Can you pan to the date on the top? So this is right on March 20th. This is the next sign you're going to see in the east once it's an hour after sunset. Leo is above Virgo at this point. But when you can witness that month sign in the west and you pan over and look in the east, this is what you see is Virgo's head poking up. And now go to the previous picture, Jeremy, and let me see the top with the date. Okay, so this is, now March 31st is the equivalent of the 12th day of the first month. And zoom in on that Spica star for me. So an hour after sunset, we see Spica is still under the horizon on the 12th day of the first month, an hour after sunset. Now, why is the Spica star so important? It's because she's holding a sheaf of barley in her hand, and the Spica star is representative of the barley. All right, so go to the next picture and then the next picture. see zoom in on Spica there. So now we're at April 1st, 1 hour after sunset, and Spica is now over the horizon. So this is the 13th day of the first month, which is 2 weeks after the spring intercalary day, bringing in the spring season. So we see the Spica star over the horizon, ripening the barley. And go to the next picture and zoom in. Here is April 2nd. Here's our Passover, our day of Passover. The barley is now Aviv by the time of Passover. So I thought this is an incredible witness in the stars, too, that we are in the right season, that we are in the correct month, we're in the correct rotation in the tabernacles with seeing Judah come in first, and our barley is ripe by the time of Passover. Hallelujah.
Praise Yah. And actually, I wanted to make a slight correction. The original video is actually from, I think it's discussion 19 or 20 or so. I have it on my YouTube channel. It'll be there in the description. Basically, it's Marissa and her presentation of the stars. So I shared the link to that one. So the second video that we had watched is actually going to be this one.
On the day Jesus was crucified.
Oh, So before we start, again, it's not about which name he uses because, none of us here use that name. But what is being presented, the information he's presenting, which I actually looked into as well and double-checked and confirmed it, is about April 3rd, 33 AD. April 3rd is always the 15th day of the first month, or the first day of unleavened bread. So let me mute it, and then we'll play this, and then I'll share the link actually, and then we'll play it. So 1 second here.
On the day Jesus was crucified, that the sun darkened and the moon turned to blood, and science confirmed it. Well, that's next on the trumpet. All that and an earthquake on April 3rd, 33 AD. So that happened April 3rd, 33 AD. And yes, there was an earthquake on that day. The people in the Old Testament and the New Testament said the exact same thing about the blood moon. That's also in the end time prophecy of the book of Revelation. They call that a blood moon. That all happened on the day that he was crucified. That's right there on the 33. 33, right there. The book of Matthew, chapter 27, tells you all about the earthquake. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. So there was an earthquake, a blood moon, an eclipse, and the graves were opened, and they walked into Jerusalem. I was trying to figure out why April the 2nd might be such a big deal, and that was the day that Jesus was arrested. Some people believe that Jesus was crucified in 30 AD. However, there's not an earthquake or an eclipse that coincide with those dates. I go by Ezekiel 33:3, and that scripture says that when I see the sword fall upon the land, I blow the trumpet and warn the people, so light can follow the trumpet for more. And in Jesus' name, have a blessed day.
So really just confirmation there, because guess what? April 2nd is the date of Passover, which actually I wrote an article about as well, the death, burial, and resurrection of Messiah. So that'll go along with discussion 14, where we go over the death, burial, and resurrection. And also a video I did a few years ago about the very same thing. This only lines up to the Zadok calendar. Absolutely. So there's
The
one.
Zadok calendar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There is that one. Oh, here it is.
Brother Sean.
So this is going to be that third video. And let me get the link here. And this was recorded also from one of our discussions. I can't remember the exact number, but oops, that's the wrong. Sorry, I shared the wrong link. It's supposed to be this video. Hold on one second. I copied it. Sorry. I don't know why I shared that link. Oh, it's still the same one. It's not wanting to share this link for some reason. Strange. Interesting. So, well, you can find this. It's going to be on my channel. It's called The Wheel Within the Wheel of the Calendar Cycle. It's only 8 minutes long. And again, this was recorded from a previous discussion, which you can find in the descriptions here on, what is it? Must be 23. So it must be 23. Discussion 23 I recorded it from, because yeah, it says right here. All right, perfect. So that works out. But let me get the quality up here. Then I will mute my mic, and we'll go ahead and play it.
Sent this drawing to us. That this was a drawing that Yah gave him when he drew it up. And when he presented the calendar that he understood to us, I found this picture just so intriguing. And so I'd like to bring your attention to the top of the menorah here. And so we have 7 branches, where the middle one is number 4. And we see this like bright yellow straight line that goes right up to number 4 in the middle. And so this is the understanding that we all are in agreement on, that the straight line shadow makes is the sign for the 4th day of creation week. And so what perplexed me, though, was that if you look in the middle here at these numbers, 6 is really bolded, but it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have these little boxes with the spaces in between the branches. But what was so perplexing to me was that this yellow straight line went between gates 3 and 4. And so oftentimes when people only consider the solar cycle, they are believing that the equinox is day 0 and thus beginning their year the day after. But my question was, how can both of these coincide? How can they coexist together, where the equinox is day 0 or is between the 3rd and the 4th gate, and yet also is the 4th day of creation week. And so I'd just like to read to you guys Enoch 72:5. And the chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. Now, whenever we read this particular verse, we understand that this is a day in and of itself, where the sun is returning through the north and shining in the face of the heaven. And so we can extrapolate that this is day 0, because Enoch goes on to count 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31, and he counts 364 days. And it has to be a day 0 because we're told it's 364 days of the year. So 0 doesn't have a numerical value, but it does have a place in the counting of days. And so I'm sure you're thinking at this point, like, but Marissa, that's not the day 0 that we've all been understanding. Well, family, it is day 0 of the solar cycle. And so, Jeremy, if you could you go to the next picture, please? So there are 2 counts. And the very first count I have here is creation week that gives us the Sabbath day. And so when we recognize day 0 on creation week, which is 316, it moves the equinox into that place of day 4 of the week. And this is the only way that those 2 counts can coincide and be true at the same time. So you'll see in the second section, solar cycle and the seasons. If we don't have the solar cycle in this position, then our seasons will become dislodged. Where if we read Enoch 72 and we think that we should be beginning with the equinox specifically, well, then Enoch 72's seasonal days, the quarter division leaders will be dislodged. But this is a separate cycle. Enoch was given the cycles of the luminaries. And so he's describing to us the solar cycle. Now, creation week and the Sabbath day, the references that we can make really come from Jubilees, where in Jubilees we're told to count 52 weeks of days. And so there are actually 3 wheels going on here. So we see the first wheel, the most outer wheel. Jeremy, you can pan to the next picture. The most outer wheel is creation week. And so creation week begins with Genesis 1 through 2, when the earth was formless and void and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That is our divider day. And so that lands on 316, and it's after the 52nd Sabbath of the year. So we are counting 52 weeks of days from creation week. And there are multiple scriptures written in Jubilees where it says from the beginning of creation, from the time of creation, giving credence to this creation week and the count of it being important. And so when we recognize that there's 2 different wheels going on, we see that middle wheel is the solar cycle that began on the 4th day when the sun, the moon, and the stars were made. And so that is that straight line day, the 4th day of creation week. What's really interesting, though, is that we also know of the prophetic year spoken of in Daniel is 360 days. And those days are counted between the equinox and the equilux. So that is 321 to 315. That gives us 360 days for our prophetic year. And now I wholeheartedly understand where our brothers and sisters in Messiah choose to reckon their days by the solar cycle. However, I'd like to implore you to consider this. The scripture where in Ezekiel 8, where the priests have their backs to the temple and they're facing the east, bowing to the sun. They're worshiping the sun as a luminary. And these are what our lunar calendar brothers and sisters are also doing, except with the moon. And they worship the moon on the new moon days, and they blow the shofar at the moon, and they're looking at her and honoring her in that way. And so when we recognize, though, that there are multiple cycles that are overlaid here for the calendar, and when we recognize that creation week comes first, we are no longer going to reckon our days by honoring the creation, but rather we'll be honoring the Creator. And
Praise Yahuah. Here, let me, there we go. So yeah, amazing stuff. And I wanted to point out there in chat, Yohanan and Sue, beautiful example of forgiveness and repentance and, coming together. Praise Yahuah for that. And, it's amazing. Praise Yahuah. Thank you, Yohanan, for being brave enough to mention that in the chat as well. And we could see repentance and forgiveness and then coming together as a Echad, as one. And I just wanted to bring that out. Beautiful example of brotherhood and fellowship. Praise Yah. Yeah. So let me see if I can share this video again, because I have the other two there in chat, but this one, it was popping up as the second video for some reason. It seems to be, it still is. Yeah, it's still saying it's that last video we watched, even though I'm copying and pasting this link. You know what I'll do? I'll just share the whole playlist here. And it's found on this playlist. Let me get it here. But this playlist I shared is also, it's going to contain all of our discussions that we've had, except for a few here and there that caused me to get strikes on YouTube. But those can be found in our second group here in the video section. So you can find our videos there that they had banned off YouTube, because we discussed some pretty important matters there. Basically, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what it is, but Yahuah makes medicines of the earth, and those who abhor them are unwise. Ecclesiasticus. Anyways. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to add? Or I do know here probably in a couple of hours at least, we're going to have our Zoom meeting, or we're going to jump on Jackson Snyder's Zoom meeting and attend that. Just need to watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. We're not presenting again. We are not presenting. We are just going in to bear witness to the calendar and to chime in, ask questions, present findings. because it's Dustin Hoffman was not able to get through his presentation because of people jumping in saying, talking about, well, where's the moon involved? And, Desmond had to go in and present something, and then Gina and Robert came in with a bunch of Pharisee questions that we could have been able to help him out with had we been there. So he's our brother, we want to go in, we want to support him, and we want to just bear witness to the truth and be involved in this discussion because, it's important. I personally sat and listened to his other calendar presentations, and the one theme that is clearly we all know is wrong is trying to fit Yahuah's feasts and his calendar on top of a Gregorian calendar. And that's just the theme of what I've gotten from past presenters. Dustin, I don't think, does that, which is good. He just starts the day after the straight line shadow, which is false. That's what Nick Vanderland does as well. So we just kind of want to go in, and we encourage everyone to go in and bear witness and give a voice when need be, to help him out in any way we could, and to contribute to the presentation, ask questions at the end, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll end it here probably.
Yeah,
Well, if
does
it's not,
anyone want to talk about anything? Does anyone have any questions or anything?
yeah,
Any comments?
please,
Any
please.
confirmations? Anything? Please.
Yeah, feel free.
I'm sorry, I just had a phone call from my son. When Marissa was doing the video, did she mention about the moon coming into the particular constellation of the month when it was full?
Yeah, so when it's full, it's opposite of the sun. So we could tell what constellation is the sun is by the witness of the moon. Is that right, Jeremy?
Yeah. So it's not like a determining factor or anything.
It's just
a witness.
witnessing.
Yeah.
Because we can't see the constellations when the sun is out, right? So when the moon is full, she's bearing witness. She's in directly opposite of the sun, so you can know where the sun is in the constellations, which is pretty cool.
Oh, it's really cool, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, with people sleeping on the roofs and sleeping outside, the stars were the only thing that they'll be watching at night time, and I'm sure they knew absolutely everything about the stars and could probably easily tell maybe the month and what particular week perhaps they're in, just looking at that sort of constellation range. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I want to get one of those astrolabes.
Yeah, those astrolabes, they're pretty cool. They've
What's
existed.
an astrolabe? Is that the curved wood with the string?
They look like a prog clock, like wheels, just kind of going through the constellations and mapping out the moon.
Oh, yeah, got you. I know what you mean. I think there's one in Prague Square, isn't there? There's a clock in Prague that's still going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
just like a
it.
little handheld one. that wavy tail makes on Etsy. And I just have to, because I tried to order it. I don't know what degree that I need to buy, so I have to take a look to see which one I need to get. It's a shame because you can't get in touch with Tina Black for anything. And, you know, she has a lot of information, we thought, on the constellations in the moon, because her claims is that you could know the day by looking at the moon in what constellation. And Marissa took a look at that, and you could see where she's off a little bit, especially trying to start the year on a Wednesday, being that it's not in Aries, it was in Pisces, and it's just a degree difference, but she was still off and trying to make it work for her Wednesday start. And she's making all these claims, like she could tell the day, which will be phenomenal. However, we can't get in touch with her to discuss. And then when Marissa started to look at it, she's like, yeah, I mean, it works for 1 year, but then it won't work again. So it's like, oh, and you know, of course, her claim that if you're stranded on a deserted island, you would just cite the equinox and then move to whatever Wednesday, I guess, on that deserted island. Whatever.
How do you find a Wednesday?
How do you find a Wednesday? I keep asking these people, and you know what they say? Oh, you're just pulling a straw man argument. I'm like, it's a legitimate question.
Yeah, really.
Because
Like how?
if you're moving it to a Wednesday, that argument doesn't pan out for you, because you have no way of knowing. So that's bunk.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna know by the signs in the heavens a Gregorian Wednesday. It just, yeah, and like Katrina was saying, you know, when you ask them, they have all kinds of excuses why not to answer that.
A lot
Oh,
of
it's because,
gaslighting. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately. Like, we're just trying to prove all things here. If you can't do it, you can't make these claims. If you're going to keep, you know, erasing my comments, you know, you're hurting yourself.
I find that if you're struggling to fit something in or trying to make something to fit for your own thinking, it definitely isn't right, is it? We see lots of books written about these things that go on and on and on and on, but all they're trying to do is prove their way of thinking rather than just sitting back and letting it all fall into place. Make it easy. Just let it fall into place.
Like we're doing here. Because, you know, of the confirmations, you know, we were, you know, praying and asking, well, what do we do? How, you know, what do we do with this one scroll? And then, you know, it just floods the mind of people, and the Ruach just proves all things when you least expect it.
Yeah, in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all praise to the Most High. It just clicked when Marissa said that. Like, hey, what if it's about the stars? And it was just like click, and I was like, yep, that's it. So we were talking a little bit more, and yeah, we found that verse in Jubilees. Abraham looking at the stars from evening to morning. Same verbiage right there, 4Q320, from evening to morning. So
I just love how he works, because, you know, he had it on my heart to reach out and talk to Desmond, who, you know, wants to do the Wednesday thing and wants to try to map out the calendar using the priestly cycles, it seemed. And he's got this cool Excel thing where he just had to put in a few equations and then boom, he got like a calendar, but he was neglecting a big, he was neglecting the understanding of the insertation, the author's insertions. And, I, as Marissa, as we all do, we should want to prove out all things, always reserve the right to be wrong. So being that, me and Jeremy and Marissa, Miranda, we were all willing to sit and listen to this brother who is so incredibly knowledgeable on so many things. I mean, it was blowing me away with some of the things that he found and how he was thinking about that he was getting it. But truthfully, at the end of our conversation, if you want to hinge on a Wednesday, if you're moving the equinox, I mean, we could have just saved a whole lot of time just by asking him that. But it did leave us to figure out what that particular issue was for the author's insertion. It's just not the moon, because the moon doesn't come in always at night. It doesn't come out, 10 days out of the year.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Who is it that mentioned about Abraham looking at the stars?
Marissa. Oh,
morning till evening. Right, so there's also something in Genesis 15. Genesis 15:5, he was told to lay down and look at the stars and to count them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was something to do with his descendants.
Which
and this
one
is
was
how
that?
your descendants will be. But what if it's Genesis 15:5?
Got it.
And he said, count the stars, and this is how your descendants will be. But what if he's saying, account for the stars, and your descendants will be the ones who will do this, if you know what I mean?
Wow.
The ones that take notice of the stars could be the seed of Abraham, and that's the proper calendar.
Yeah, wow.
I'm looking it up in the interlinear now.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just these they all have spiritual, and it all has spiritual meanings. Like the whole of the scripture is living word. It's all spiritual. So, like, although these things may have happened in the material world, it's all prophecy as well. Like the whole Bible's prophecy. There's so much prophecy in all of it, even though the prophets are the prophets and they prophesied for Israel. There's a lot of other prophecy in there as well.
So I'm looking at the interlinear, and it's saying, and he brought him outside and said, look now towards the heaven and count the stars if you are able to. And now if you go and click on the word count, it's Safar. And it is to count, to recount, relate, declare, tell, to score with, mark as a tally record, to inscribe, to enumerate, to recount, calibrate.
That's it.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah, so he asked him to calibrate, and your descendants will be like this.
So figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not necessarily go in there and literally count out every star. You can't, I mean, come on. But look, it's to make it known, to calibrate, to reckon.
Yes.
To declare.
Tingly. I'm tingly.
Tingling? Do you feel that? Good eye.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I just remembered, I was just like, I knew he was told in the main canon to do it as well. So they can't say it's just apocryphal.
Woo!
Yeah, boom. Mic drop.
Fire. Fire.
I'm gonna have to add that now. Yeah, praise Yah. Perfect example why we need each other for
We
sure.
do. I jumped on your live today. I didn't know, I love you, sister. And it was just like, I jumped on your live thinking, we got to connect. And this was just perfect.
Yeah.
We need each other. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be okay. We'll get there. That's what it is. It's all about like being different puzzle pieces and all coming together to make the big picture. We've all been given different stuff. So we just got to piece it together.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
it's about yeah. I can wait. I was just all I was going to say was check out the ancient Hebrew. Check out the ancient Hebrew. Whenever you go to the Strongs, copy the Hebrew.
Yeah.
As it is, as in copy and paste the actual Hebrew letters. Put them in Google, but put ancient Hebrew etymology, and then you'll get the ancient usage of the word, not the modern Hebrew. And the answers are usually found there. And that's all I wanted to say.
No, I was reading it. Okay, so, and he brought him forth abroad and said, look towards the heavens and count the stars, to reckon the stars. Wow. If you be able to number them, he said, unto him, so shall your seed be. I wonder what able to number them could.
So my King James says, tell the stars. Look towards the heaven and tell the stars. So tell, as in, can you tell what this means? Is it safar? Is that the word?
It is.
Yeah. So I'm gonna I'll take that word, copy it, put it into Google, ancient Hebrew, paste, meaning. Okay. Recounting or narrating. Tell the stars, narrate the stars. Scribe or secretary. Yeah, recount, relate. It's the primitive meaning that I always go to, if we can find it, because it's that old. Genesis is that old. To score with a mark or tally or record. He was asked to go and record the stars.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly count all the stars in the sky. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Because in the next verse it says, and this is going to be for your righteousness. Like, and it and he believed Yahuah and he counted it for righteousness. Yeah.
So would this be Abraham moving away from the things that his father was doing, Terah, which would have probably been Babylonian lunar moon worship, and Abraham learning about the calendar?
Yeah, this is actually saying, Ken, this is actually saying he brought him forth abroad and said, look now towards heaven and, what was the word we used?
Basically make a record
Record.
of what you observed.
Yeah, that's it. So he brought him from abroad and said, look now towards heaven and record the stars, if you are able to record them. And he said unto him, so will your seed be. Does that mean this is how the seed of Abraham will be? they would also be recording the stars.
Right.
Is that what that means?
Children of light, being children of light. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Taking
Well,
account
that's
to
different than we thought it meant, isn't it?
just a bit. Just blows me out of the water, man. Wow. This is good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the seed of
Amazing.
Abraham, we know is 144,000 and the bride, right? The spiritual seed, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So how can that be as many as the stars in the sky
Ooh.
when it's such a narrow road and very few find it?
Tell me about it.
I don't know. Crazy. I'm done. I'm getting off the microphone before I say something stupid.
No. Don't stop. That's great.
I think the 144,000, there's going to be much more than 144,000. I got a feeling that the 144,000 are the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
They're the barley first fruits. They're the ones that Yahuah picked the heads off during the when he was getting berated for harvesting on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was choosing which of his wheat he was picking.
See, I was just going through in the interlinear again. It says Safar twice.
Yeah, so
But
it's
to number and to count. So it's literally saying, look now towards the heavens, Safar the stars, if you are able to Safar them. Yeah, so it's just using the same word, but it's spelled different for some reason.
Oh, let me go and have a look.
Be saying record them if you can record them.
Safar.
Yeah.
Safar. It's the same word.
It's the same word.
5608, yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally saying like record the stars, and if you can record them, so shall your seed be.
Yeah.
If you are able to record them. So literally he just got on with it. He just did it. Maybe it wasn't just one night that he was doing it. Like he could have been up there like recording the stars for years.
Yeah.
So in essence, he was mapping them out.
Yep. Yeah.
Was it just Abraham that did it, or was there like many of them? Had he taught his descendants to do this?
He should
Or
have.
was it Enoch that taught him to do it? Hang on. Who came first, Abraham or Enoch? Enoch was Noah's grandfather, so Enoch came first.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
mapped.
this is Genesis 15. Yeah.
Wasn't Noah still alive when Abraham was around?
Now you're asking.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Feeling that maybe Abraham with Noah.
Repeat that question again, please.
Was Noah still alive when Abraham was? Were they alive at the same time?
I've got a feeling Abraham and Noah hooked up for a period.
I believe in the writings of Abraham. He was still alive.
This says here, Noah was still alive when Abraham was born. Abraham was born generations after the flood, and Noah lived for a significant period after the flood. Specifically, Abraham was born 400 years after Noah's death. Huh? Noah lived for 350 years after he landed on dry land. Abraham was a descendant of Noah through his son Shem. There's a gap of 400 years between Noah's death and Abraham's birth. So first it's saying that Noah was alive when Abraham was born, and then it's saying that there was a gap between Noah's death and Abraham's birth. I'm confused.
I have a timeline graph in back of my Bible, and it shows that Abraham was still alive when Noah was alive. Or excuse me, Noah was still alive when Abraham was alive.
I'm sure I've read somewhere that Noah, I don't know, he was either with Abraham or with Abraham's children or something like that in a cave.
Yeah, it says here,
Noah.
Shem, Noah, and Abraham all lived together for 39 years. This is from a website. It's the book of Jasher, apparently. Few people have ever stopped to consider Noah and Abraham, and even Shem and Nimrod were contemporaries. I certainly didn't, but as I have taken the time to dig deeper into the scriptures, many things are beginning to come to light. The book of Jasher has forced me to explore some very interesting trails and answered some of my many questions. Too often, because of my laziness, I skip the begets, and because of that, I have stayed trapped in my ignorance. I say trapped because those that do not know history are doomed to repeat it, and learning about confrontations between Abraham and Nimrod helped to preserve our lives in the future, both near and eternal. Did Noah and Abraham know one another? Yasha reveals that not only did Noah and Abraham know each other, but Abraham lived with Noah and Shem for 39 years. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, and he lived for 950 years. This is from Jasher, though, guys. Like, do you guys read Jasher? I don't know.
No.
Not really. It's a strange one, Jasher. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, but you know Ham. We spoke about Ham a bit back, didn't we, Jeremy? On this about Ham and his bloodlines, who started.
Yeah. It's there's
started.
too much in Jasher that's it's very contradictory and kind of like witchcrafty kind of.
That's what I heard. I heard there was problems with it. Yeah, that's why I stopped reading. Yeah.
Not saying that there can't be truth found sprinkled in there, but yeah,
if Noah had books from Enoch on the ark, just thinking, which I'm sure he would have done, maybe Ham picked them up like they do in Rome and walked away with them, and so that Abraham had to be retaught perhaps because the books weren't around.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it, see if we can find a bit more info. Oh, someone's got a timeline here, look. Well, this is handy. Adam to Jacob.
According to that timeline, he was 58, 57, 58, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, that's what Jochenan's just put as well. It was 57. Okay.
Ken with questions.
Why did we bring this up anyway? I've forgotten the reason why we brought this up, considering why did we need to know if Noah and Abraham lived together? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was something Ken had brought up.
To be able to see if
They would have
Noah taught Abraham the stars.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Enoch would have taught Noah and Noah would have taught Abraham. Yeah. Okay, great.
Did you need to say something, brother? Go ahead. No worries.
I was just thinking, Noah would have known the year, wouldn't he? Noah would definitely have known the year with the solstice and everything. So he's got the year sorted, and the days and the counts. Would he have known about the stars? Yeah, would he? Would he? I mean, is there anything about the stars in Enoch? There's not much about the stars, really, is there? Unless it's been removed, I'm not sure. Can't get. Would you?
Well, yeah, that's what we had found in Enoch 82. So in our modern Enoch versions that we have, it'll stop at verse 20. And that's where he's going into detail about the stars. And then a few fellowships ago, we were going over the Dead Sea Scroll fragments of Enoch. That's where we found the fragments that show us the verses after Enoch 82:20. And something since the beginning we've speculated, because Victor had actually brought it up, saying, Enoch 82 is incomplete. And when you read it, it's only talking about spring and summer there because of the seasons and, the springing forth and things like that. And then it kind of stops at verse 20. And then the next chapter is about something completely different. But in the Dead
Is
Sea
that
Scroll,
about, sorry, just quickly, is that about there's the two seasons that are mentioned, which is heat and cold?
no, they're actually both. One is about spring because of the cooler weather. Then it talks about the heat of the summer. Then it kind of ends there.
Okay.
But that's where we had found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It continues on, and it starts talking about the fall and the winter, and even more the heads of the leaders in the stars as well. But it's very fragmented, so it's really hard to make out what exactly it's saying. But we do see it's there and it exists, which proved our theory correct that Enoch 82 is incomplete. It's really, really amazing, actually.
It's definitely incomplete. I mean, it's only talking about how the sun prospers and blesses and does everything to the first half of the year. It doesn't explain what the moon's doing to the second half of the year, and perhaps it would go on to explain what the stars do as well. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just taking a look at the word Sephar in the Paleo Hebrew meanings, and it's Samic, thorn, grasp, gather, support, slowly turn. So grasp, pay is the mouth open, freedom, speaks. Grasps freedom. Reish,
Does it say
head.
something about thorn?
Yep.
Right, thorn is representative of man ruling over man. If you have a look in Judges 9, I think it is, there is the parable of the thorn bush, where it talks about the fruit trees, the goodly fruit trees are asked to rule over man, and they all said no. The only one who came to rule over man was the thorn bush, and he jumped at the chance of ruling and becoming king. And a thorn bush is a tree that produces no fruit. So this is prophecy of King Saul, and prophecy over other Benjamites that would have liked to have ruled. What did it say about the thorn? Can you just repeat that for me a minute?
Well, I was just taking a look at the Hebrew letters in the word Sephar to count, to gather, to, and just taking a look at the word with the Hebrew letter meanings. So the Samic is the thorn, grasp, gather, support, slowly, turn. Pay is the mouth open, freedom, speaks. and Resh is the head, highest person, and I, to see, to know, to experience. So like reckoning the word Safar.
So that word could mean that the head, being Yahuah, has freed us from the rule of the thorn where the calendar's concerned. It fits, totally fits. Because if you have a look, the Pharisees have been ruling over the calendar and they've been imposing that calendar on all of Israel for thousands of years. But Yahuah has come and brought us freedom by opening up this calendar so that we can escape the Babylonian rule. So that could, the paleo is incredible. It tells a story in every single word.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the meaning of that word is to definitely not just count the stars, it's to reckon them, to calibrate, to declare, to tell. Amazing find. That just makes it so much deeper.
It truly does.
I've got to get onto this Paleo Hebrew, I think.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
grasp this, to grasp the freedom to know. To grasp the freedom to know. Safar. Oh, wow. Because they speak, but they don't have words, right? Psalm 19.
Yeah, exactly.
The stars, the constellations speak, but without words. It's freedom.
Wow. Yeah, to calculate the years to determine the years. That's it right there.
Mm-hmm. What a dig.
Yeah, truly incredible.
Yeah, I just posted that. Sorry, Jeremy.
No, go ahead.
We're both trying to speak at once. I don't mean to cut you up. I just posted that thorn bush parable from Judges 9. So it's basically all of the trees that asked if they would like to rule, and they said no, we've got fruit to produce for both man and Yahuah. But the only one who said was the bramble, the thorn bush. And he said unto the trees, if in truth you anoint me king over you, then put your trust in my shadow, and if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. So, this is, I think this is talking about King Abimelech. I think he was unrighteous, wasn't he? Isn't this when there was no king, and then they all did what was right in their own eyes? And this is a bit like what it's like today. Like they always want some unrighteous human king to rule over them instead of Yahuah. It's pretty sickening.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, and this is what happened with the calendar, you see. It's yet men ruling over men, telling them how to live instead of them going to the scriptures and to Yahuah and getting revelation.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we did here. We just we stopped listening to the men. We took it right to scriptures. And this is what Yahuah has shown all of us here.
It's the
And
only way.
yeah. And there are other small groups who believe the same, ambassadors of Yah on Telegram, or not Telegram, TikTok, sorry. He discovered this method as well, and then we've been talking with him. We even got to present on one of his TikTok lives. And ever since then it's been blowing up as well. I'm sure there's a few brothers and sisters in here now from listening to TikTok, and there's so many others that have found this method as well. Each just from looking through scriptures. Now that we're able to come together, and more are starting to see this, it's blowing up. It's praise Yahuah, all praise to the Most High. It's His truth coming to light. Yeah, it's such a blessing. And once you understand the calendar, that's when scriptures, you start understanding the deeper meaning in scriptures as well. And you can see pretty much everything written in scriptures is based around the calendar, what's going on, and what the times we are in, like what jubilees, so forth. So it's really important to a deeper understanding, truly. Yeah, TikTok. TikTok is too good for platforming. Speaking of that, so there's a video I put out on my TikTok channel, and it's already at like 41,000 views. That's more views than my YouTube channel has gotten in like 5 years. It's really wild how far the reach goes on TikTok. So that's been drawing people to my channel, where I also have, the links to the calendar. I do little videos about the calendar as well. But yeah, praise Yahuah. Paleo says Yahuah gives freedom from the thorn. Yeah, the thorn of a false calendar.
It's funny that Paul says he had a thorn in his side. I wonder if it was the calendar.
Ooh. Yeah, because he was a Pharisee following the Babylon calendar, going to the true calendar.
Yep.
Because we can see that connection right there. Him on the road to Damascus, Qumran. Not Damascus, Syria. He was going to Damascus, Qumran, to persecute the sons of Zadok who were there.
Yeah. And you know what? There was an interesting thing. He kept the feasts outside of Jerusalem, because it says, after the days of unleavened bread, as we sailed to Troas. Not good.
Exactly, not good for those feast deniers. Which, speaking of that, I had a bunch of them come commenting on one of my videos. There's actually one with Libby. And, of course, they were disrespectful and shameful comments, so I had to remove them. But yeah, you just kind of reminded me of that with those people who like to deny the festival.
I think they should be done in Jerusalem, because otherwise, why would you need a second Passover? It says if you're going on a long journey, then you can keep the second Passover. Why would you need, if you can keep it anyway, why would you need a second Passover?
That's for the ones who were unable to attend.
Yeah, but I still do them.
Yeah.
I just do them in a different way. Yeah.
So there are a rehearsal for the festivals that will be continuing in the heavens as well. So right now, just like when they were in Egypt and in the wilderness, these festivals, and we see Abraham and all of them observing these festivals as well. Noah, they weren't in Jerusalem or any specific place. It was where Yahuah puts his name, and his name should be on our foreheads if we are true followers of Yahuah, because that's like the mark of the beast as well. So the beast copies what Yahuah does. So his name should be written on our foreheads, and that's where he chooses to put our names, because our bodies should be his temple as well. So where two or three are gathered, he is also there. But it goes pretty deep. But yeah, that's a whole nother subject. But no, I get it. It just kind of reminded me because a bunch of them came on my video, and you know,
Oh yeah. I know
they're
who you're
pretty
talking
vile.
about.
Yeah. They're pretty
Yeah.
vile.
No, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I still keep the feast. I just do it in like a bit more of a quiet way now. It's more of a Sabbath for me rather than a big festival where I'm celebrating. But that's my understanding of what Yahusha said, which I'll go into another day because it's, it's a lot.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we see Messiah's example. He was with like the 12 apostles, basically the believers. So that's how I figure if we're with our mishpacha, like in this little group, for example. I think that's how we should observe it. It shouldn't be like a public event where the public's invited, just like the believers. And then the New Jerusalem is going to be, the ultimate. That's where our goal is. So that's when everything's going to be, solidly established again. Because right now everything's been lost,
That's it. It says in Lamentations that the gates are crying out because no one goes to Jerusalem to do the feasts anymore. Oh dear.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get there. He's going to reveal all things. He's going to restore all things. So
yeah, absolutely.
yes, that's how I am, Sue. Sue's just written something out. Observing and not keeping. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's like observation. I keep it as I keep them as a Sabbath, but I don't go crazy buying luxuries because I understand that whilst the bridegroom's away, the children of the bride chamber mourn. So I'm just literally just keeping it out of, respect for the days as an appointment, Moedim.
No, I get that.
Yeah. But to say that they're done away with is terrible. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah. And yeah, Yohanan, a lot of them did need, the temple and the priests. But we have to remember Yahusha HaMashiach is our high priest and our king. So he's doing all those priestly duties in the heavenly tabernacle without having sin in him. So yeah, we remember them by, observing them. Because it does say for all generations, generation to generation, is going to be kept eternally, even in the new kingdom. So it's just like a rehearsal for his people, not like the general public. It's just like his people, Yeah, the Torah is alive and well because the Messiah is his living word. And that's it. Boom. His Torah in the flesh. Yeah. The birds got a lot.
What time is that? What time is that gentleman on Zoom?
So it's He said 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what time that would be at where you guys are located.
What time is it now at Eastern?
Let's see, what time is it East? What time is it over there, Katrina?
4:20.
Okay, yeah,
It's
yeah.
9:20 p.m. here, so it's going to be in 4 hours. I'll be asleep. I'll be well and truly gone in 4 hours.
Well, it will be recorded, so.
Thanks for the invite, though.
Mhm.
That meant a lot. But yeah, no, I'll be asleep.
Well, we'll send you the recording.
Thanks,
Yeah,
sis.
we'll put it on YouTube as well. But like we mentioned before, we're probably going to be presenting next week because Dustin has to finish his this week. And it's pretty late at night, so I doubt they're going to want like another hour and a half presentation. So I'm guessing next week it's probably going to be when we do ours. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If it's the wrong Moedim, it's not the Torah. Yeah. It's like we always say, you know, they're Yahuah's set apart times and his times. So like if we have a meeting at work and we show up late or the wrong day, we're not going to make that meeting. Or, you know, if we have some kind of hot date with somebody, you show up at the wrong day, the wrong time, you're not going to make it. It's that same concept.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think we're well past going on hot dates. I think this is
Yeah.
I think this is nose to the grindstone and get on with it, I think.
No, it's just an example, really. Like, but yeah, it's just
Yeah, I
like
know.
we have
Just funny.
but it just shows the importance of, you know, we have to make his timing, not our own, you know. But yeah, so Zoom, yeah, in about 4 hours here, 3.5, 4 hours. I do have the link and the passcode there linked in the chat. And it's all for those who would like to join. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you would like to. And shalom, Sister Sue. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I know for some of us it's getting late. Some of us it's still afternoon. Some of us it's early morning. We really are from across this earth.
It might all be from across the earth, that the sun shines straight in a straight line all across the earth on equinox for all of us. So we're all good.
That's it right there. Oh, you're in Scotland. Wow. Awesome.
Do you know what? I do have a really, really important question, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Katrina was talking about something a little while ago about how sometimes the equinox will begin at like 2 a.m. If that happens, where would the straight line be visible?
So that's kind of what
Would it be
we
the
were
next day?
So what we're seeing really is that's when the sun is setting in the west, going to the north, and then rising in the east. So the center point would be Israel. So that should be our determining straight line shadow factor. But we're still all going to catch it on that same day. Just some, like here, for example, in the western United States, some believe they had caught it on the 19th. And there's a few reasons for that, I believe. And it's because we're supposed to do it from sunrise to sunset. Some only do it for like only 8 hours to 10 hours of the day. And it really needs to be
Yeah.
caught longer than that to get, that little bend at the end that we're going
Yeah,
to
because
get.
the bend happens each end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The first few hours. Oh, that's how they get caught out.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's
So if you're only,
crazy.
so if you're only doing it like in a less amount of time, you're going to get a straight line shadow. So I think that has a big factor in it because there were quite a few who were just doing it. Like this was their first year doing it. So maybe they didn't know. So they're like, oh, look, we got a straight line shadow. And they only tracked it like 8 hours. But we do have, Aaron Ryan and Alan Pizarak. They've both been tracking it for like at least a decade. And they've always tracked it on March 20th every single year for like the last
I
decade.
think it is March 20th.
Yeah.
I think
That's
it
also
is.
that's what the U.S. Naval Tracking website says every single year as well, March 20th. The Naval
Yeah.
Tracking website is actually more accurate than like time and date, things like that.
And if you think about it, Yahuah's, he's straight with us. He's not going to be tricking us. Like, he's not going to be like, oh, 1 year it's going to be the 20th. The next year you might spot it on the 19th. I can't imagine that. I'm more likely to say that he would be, the same every year.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing as well. It's literally always March 20th. And that's just that straight line marker that's going to mark day 4 of creation week always. Even if you're on a deserted island, you're going to know when day 4 of creation week is by that sign. You're not going to know when a Wednesday is because you need the Gregorian calendar for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you just got to be careful you don't stick your stick in the ground under a tree. When that shadow comes, you're not seeing anything for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's true too. Make sure it's in an open place with no trees or mountains.
Or near any thorny trees.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, don't build your empire in the shadow of a thorn bush, guys. Not good.
Yeah, pagan god names for the Gregorian days. Yeah, exactly. And they're all named after, these Roman and what's the one before them? Greek gods, things like that.
Yeah, it's the imperial cult. Man worshipped his god. It's a right mess.
Yeah, it really is, unfortunately. But, Yahuwah's truth will shine. That's what we see is happening right here, especially with all these confirmations that we get. Like every week we get a new confirmation. This week we got several confirmations, even more so. But yeah, it's truly amazing. All praise to the Most High. Yeah, so does anybody else have anything they would like to add or any other topic they would like to bring up? As long as it's not too dangerous of a topic,
But I'm probably going to get off now, guys, because it's already 9:30 at night. So that's probably my Shabbat wind down for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And thanks for having us, though. It's been so lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure having everybody here. And, like I said, we all need each other, so we can't do it without each other. Yeah. Shalom to everybody who's new to the group as well. Shalom and welcome. So yeah, if no one really has any other or anything to add or anything to talk about, we can end it here. But don't forget the Jackson Snyder Zoom this evening as well. Which I'll go to the pin message. I'll bump it here again. So it'll have the Zoom is there, and then the passcode as well to get in for the meeting. So anybody here is welcome to join in. Feel free. And again, a reminder, we're most likely not presenting tonight. It'll probably be next week, but we're just going to listen in and to show up and to see what it's all about as well. Yeah,
Thank you for the
Telegram.
invite, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No problem. Thank you
Appreciate
for
that. It was
coming.
very informative. I appreciate it. And when you get it in loaded into your YouTube, I would, if you put a link in the comments, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can share my YouTube channel here real quick.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so I have a playlist as well of all of our discussions here on the channel and a whole lot more. So in about 4 hours, yeah, correct. That's when the Zoom's going to start. And no worries, Brother Lee. Glad you can make it. So yeah, we may not be doing our presentation this evening, but we're still going to join in, listen in, see what it's about. And it's probably actually would be a blessing to do it next week, so I would have a chance to reword everything to our recent findings that Marissa had found. 2:33 your time. Yeah, so it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. So right now it's basically 4:30. So 3.5 hours. Yes, correct. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Katrina?
No, thanks everybody for being here. And please, if you have any questions, get in touch with us. If you have any confirmations, please share. And I hope everybody has a great week ahead and a restful rest of your Shabbat. It's good. It was a great conversation. Thank you. Thank you all, and praise Yahuah.
All praise to the Most High. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you to everyone else. Thank you for having us. Shalom, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Shabbat.
Shalom, everybody. Thank you all for
Shabbat
joining.
shalom.
And we'll see everybody either on Zoom or next week as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Oh, and if anyone has TikTok, they're welcome to come and stop by my TikTok. If you guys,
Oil of truth.
Oil of Truth on TikTok, yeah. So we go live and stuff like that. Might not be around much for the next week because we said that we're doing a fast from social as a group. But yeah, maybe next week. But the
Awesome.
videos are on there. Come and take a look. See what you think. All right, shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Yeah,
Shalom.
you stay. Shalom. Great to see you.